What is happening? This is so weird. It says it's upcoming, but it's not. Can we stay stable? I'm just gonna delete the one post and then put up a new one. Delete. I wonder if this, no, I don't think I can get like for spam because I don't think I can. This is so lame. Where's that thumbnail? Oh yeah, it's beautiful. I made that. Please tell me we're not broken. I've said hola twice now. I don't care. Why is the freaking text-to-speech not working? Text-to-speech isn't working. I don't know why. Can I can't screw with my settings. Great. I will just have to read it. Anyways, before I got asked questions, I was starting to actually go over what I was trying to go over. Do I know Spanish? I can read Spanish, like, with relative ease. Cannot speak Spanish. I mean, I could, but it would be like the whitest like Spanish you've ever heard. I can decently understand when people are speaking Spanish. Like, I can get the gist of what they're saying. I actually had to one time. Someone was talking to me and they were speaking Spanish, and oh, now it goes. And like I understood what they were trying to say to me, even though I wasn't like couldn't understand every word, but like enough. I know enough. I'm not like great at it or anything, but like I can read it pretty well. And just, context clues also really help with that. I used to be able to like speak it and write it, but not anymore. Something about games to the... Why is play just capitalized? Something about you want to declare your love to whatever Momazo's slogan is, but your passion for I'm not sure if this says you have a passion for grooming girls or not. I don't know how to feel about that one. Something about very right. Something is this right. God, you can something that's verdad. Something this right. You said something about grooming people. Well, you want to declare your love to whatever the first thing is.
It is true. Yankees don't know what "Jugimos a la play" means.
I love the Texas speech. Yankees? Are we serious right now with that? You know, I could be from any English-speaking
Citizen,
country.
person, doofus.
I could be any in any English-speaking country. Just saying. It's a possibility. What was I trying to do? I wanted to go Freddy. Freddy. I wanted to go to Fazbear Theater. Do you know where that is? Great. We're gonna go then. Wait, do I want to go? Yes. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I was going the right way, and then I like, I parkoured my way back. Freddy, never let me doubt myself again. I'm supposed to be going over the entire Fnaf floor. I've really sidetracked here. Evan was supposed to keep me on track, but
Lazy, are you?
well, I'm not going to answer those questions now. Anyways, theater's there. Anyways, theater is spelled wrong. Lame. Uh-oh, wait. Oh no. Nope. You saw nothing. You saw nothing. It's okay. It's okay.
Which color are Spring Bonnie's eyes?
Blue? I think they're blue. At least they're well. Okay, well for one, Spring Bonnie I don't even think has an official model. Oh, it's Monty. Oh. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Spring Bonnie doesn't even have an official model. But if it did, I think the eyes are blue. Pretty sure. I think. Maybe? Should I look this up?
Which do you use more, Spring Bonnie or Spring Bonnie?
Does it matter? I always thought about it as one word. But technically it's only called Spring Bonnie because it's a quote-unquote spring animatronic. Which is also not even a real. It's the official name is Golden Bonnie, right? So saying Spring Bonnie doesn't even really. It's not the point. It's like how Golden Freddy is technically Yellow Bear, but no one says that. Okay, you know what? Screw you guys. I'm going to. Oh, I'm sorry, Monty. I'm sorry, dude. My bad. FNAF World uses Spring Bonnie. Great. Oh, I totally forgot FNAF World exists and is relevant. This is also not where I wanted to go, by the way. Well, I could play freaking Balloon Land. Official name is Yellow Rabbit. The official name is Yellow Rabbit in the movies. In the movies, it is called Yellow Rabbit. It is not called Yellow Rabbit in the games. And my reasoning for that is pretty sure Balloon would. Well, okay, Jesus. If I get corrected one more time, I'm going to lose it. The reason for that, I thought, was because in one of the posters, it showed it calling it Golden Bonnie. Did it not?
Hola. Which
Oh,
do
God,
you
it's
use
happening.
more, Spring Bonnie or Spring Bonnie?
He has green eyes?
Is Spring Bonnie.
Wait, whoa.
Yellow Rabbit. Balloon World.
Spring Bonnie has green eyes? Are we serious right now? I feel like I should have known that. But then again, you don't really see him a lot outside of like fan-made things. Okay, no, he has
Listen to Comedy Bot for an hour.
for an hour. He has blue eyes in the movie. Okay, I was on to something. Blue eyes in the movie. But green eyes in media. I was going off of media. Not the movies. Or the other way around. I was trying to go off of media, but I was wrong. So I will say I was wrong. But his eyes are blue in the movie. Anyways, he's only called Yellow Rabbit in the movie. He's everything. He's Spring Bonnie, Golden Bonnie, whatever in every other interpretation of his character. Anyways, this is not where I wanted to. I have to take a picture. Oh, I know where I have to go. I said that a little too loud. It's okay. I know where I need to go. Montgomery, I hear you, buddy. I'll flash you with this camera. Flash you with something else, actually. Okay, let's go. Lore. Oh, no! Okay, fudge. Okay, well, thank you for the little stamp. Oh my god. Thank you guys for the stamina charge. That's so sad. Dude, you're not catching me. Oh, thank you for keeping the door open, Freddy. You mind taking care of him? What is happening?
The official name is Yellow Rabbit.
Freddy, holy crap. This game is still broken. The game is broken how many years later? 4? I made a post about it. I think it turned 4. So I gotta go underground, which is, I don't think I can go from where I came from. I think you need Freddy for it. I don't think you can go this way. We'll see. I need to get down here regardless, so... Oh, you can! Oh, wait. Nah, it has that door thing, right? Where you can't get through the door. Yeah, it has that. So you used to be able to pre-patch. You came from Reddit. Hello. I don't know if you're still here or not, because it went from 3 to 2, but, if you did, hello. I'm sorry. I've been a bit sidetracked here talking about this, but I can start. I can actually start. So I was like a ways through this, and then I started getting asked questions. You see him in Fnaf 3, Fnaf 4, 8-bit novels, drawings, Fnaf World, Freddy Fazbear's Cheat Suit, for Help Wanted, Security Breach movie, and they all have different eye colors. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I figured Swing Bonnie was a silly guy. So, hi, yeah, hi. We're out here. I'm gonna go find something. Oh god, it's doing the thing. I hate this. U.S. English or British English? Well, I'm not gonna tell you. I'm not. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna tell you. Anyways. What I was getting at.
Nice to meet you. U.S. English or British English?
Okay, we're caught up there. It starts with whoa. What just happened?
So what are we currently doing / talking in?
We're talking about. I was trying to get through this, but I keep getting asked random questions. I guess we're at the beginning. So, Henry and William have a Fredbear singing show. They get popular via circuses. They just wear suits. William has the purple vest suit. Henry has some form of bear suit. They do performances. They get popular enough to get picked up by Fazbear Entertainment. Which is either their own brand or a different brand that then kind of they partner with. Either way, becomes their thing. Pretty sure Fazbear Entertainment is actually a separate brand. But, you know, whatever. Henry presumably owns Chica's Party World, possibly, while William owns Spring Bonnie and Freddy, and then, you know, they kind of merged that. Timeline starting from the beginning. Yeah, the entire Fnaf lore. Yeah. My friend was supposed to come on, and it was supposed to be a collab, but never showed up. So screw him. Okay, we're quoting Stay Calm. That's great. Anyways, they eventually get enough traction to make Fredbear's Family Diner. So that happens. They own Fredbear. They own Golden Bonnie. They get a security puppet for, well, yeah. They get, yeah. I'm just trying to think, like, what about Fiona? We'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Hola. Okay, so we're theorizing things that happened along the
What
way.
about Fiona? We'll get
Starting
there.
from the beginning.
We'll get there. So,
Kids, it's nice to
they
meet
make
you.
Fredbear's Family Diner. I'm, like, getting ahead of myself here. They make the diner.
Fiona.
Um,
Sorry to hear that.
then they get contracted again. You know, they have that show. They might have the show Fredbear and Friends. We'll see. They might already, and they own the characters. Fazbear Entertainment owns Freddy, Bonnie, and Foxy. Henry owns Chica. William owns Golden Freddy, or
Sing and show.
the Bear, and yeah, I talked about Fredbear's Singing Show. That was the circus act thing. And he owns Bonnie, Golden Bonnie, or whatever. So Fazbear Entertainment is pushing for them to make Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. They said, we don't want this yellow Freddy, we don't want this Spring Bonnie, we want these four to be the main, because they're the ones that are popular from the show. If the show came first, whatever, I really don't care. So they start to get to work on Freddy's, and this is before 1983. Because Fredbear's has been open for a while, it has a reputation by the bite. So this is before, this is in the 70s, right? This Fall Fest thing is presumably the circus thing that they got popular with to begin with. They eventually meet Edwin, who is also there doing his own robotics. Before that point, they weren't really doing robotics, right? So they make Fredbear's Family Diner with still suits. Then, you know, Edwin's like seeing this and doing his own stuff. Henry makes the spring locks. He's doing his own stuff. They eventually get contracted to make Freddy's in, like, you know, the later 70s. And that's when they're like, look, Edwin guy, we're impressed with your work. We want to contract you. Because at this point, Murray's... What does it stand for? Whatever.
Hey, kids,
Murray's
it's nice to
popular.
meet you.
Right, so I mean, the dude invented recycling. I still can't get over that fact when I played the game.
Sorry to hear that.
He invented recycling, so this is a pretty famous guy.
Sing and show.
But he's
Test one
terrible
900
at managing his father's business. His father gives him the manor, he gives him the business. He's terrible at it. He, instead of trying to push for basic stuff, he's kind of pushing out unfinished products, but they're new. They're experimental. They're new. They're top of the line. Could I suggest about Spring Bonnie, or would you like to finish summarizing your understanding? Go ahead. Go ahead. Do it now, because this is going to be long. So, go ahead and suggest it now. I might sound angry. I'm not. I'm just. I'm not. You can go ahead. I will just keep talking until I see the thing pop up. They contract Edwin. Edwin takes a job because he's, like, you know, not good at business and thinks he can handle the work of creating a, you know, entire pizzeria and animatronics and all of this. And obviously, well, Edwin isn't necessarily... Okay. Spring Bonnie was a recent addition to Fredbear's. The bear was probably first. Yes, I agree. The bear was first. But I think Spring Bonnie was at least there from the start of Fredbear's Family Diner. Like the animatronic. I think the Bonnie suit, not Spring Bonnie, but like I said, the yellow suit with the purple vest, glitch trap, basically, was part of the Fredbear Singing Show thing. Stop saying Fall Fest 1970, please. But yeah, Freddy was obviously Fredbear was obviously the main focus. Anyways, we'll get to Fall Fest. We'll get to it. Okay. They get popular. Edwin starts to get to work on this thing. Fiona is way better because most of his promotion art for Fredbear Singing Show shows just Fredbear, and Fredbear was just brown. Yes. No, I agree with that. Yeah. But then we see Spring Bonnie with the purple vest on one of the Fredbear's Family Diners posters, I think. And we know that's not an animatronic because it doesn't look big enough to be an animatronic suit, and I'm pretty sure it has 5 fingers. I don't know how many fingers it has, but yeah, the chat is so broken. I don't know what happened.
The golden Fredbear with the purple accessories is only really shown with the prototype suit in the MCA pizzeria.
Okay, holy crap. Okay. Yes, colors, whatever. The point is it existed. I'm just trying to get the main beats here. The point is it existed.
The Fredbear gained the yellow fur and purple accessories when Spring Bonnie joined.
Yes. No. Okay. I talked about this in another theory a while back. Yes, I agree with that. So Freddy might have been brown, or Fredbear might have been brown originally. William, regardless of whatever is happening, has a suit that.
I was just trying to finish my thought.
Regardless of what's happening, he has a yellow Bonnie suit with a purple vest. That is the glitch trap suit. We see it in a drawing in one of the posters. He has that. It's not an animatronic. It is just a suit, like a Mickey Mouse suit at Disneyland. This is just, that's my point. And then yes, at some point when Fredbear's Family Diner opens, they get a color scheme, and they go yellow purple. There. That was my point. Maybe they contract Edwin to help with that. I don't know. But they definitely contract him to try to make this 1985, and I call it 1985 location, just because the MCI happens. Okay. Just because he has... Sorry, just because the MCI happens in 1985, I call it the 85 location. It was obviously open in tandem with Fredbear's, so it was as early as 83. I just call it the 85 location. That's what I'm talking about when I say that. So Edwin was contracted to make that in the later 70s. Call it 78, if you will. Very specific year does not matter. 78, we'll call it. He's a terrible businessman. He continues taking other projects. Not really, but he continues trying to work on his own thing, as well as this. But all of his resources are going into this pizzeria. He's literally trying to design the building. He has to make the animatronics as well. He's doing all of the work. Henry presumably gave them design, because Edwin has money, right? He's a rich man. Henry presumably at least had some form of drawings or schematics, and then he was like, Edwin, do this, So Edwin's losing his mind trying to do.
Yeah, it seems like only the Queen Ovac was his only success.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from, but yes, it's not showing up in the chat. But yes, he was not a very good. He did not continue his father's business very well. Can we? Oh, sorry, Roxy. Anyways, Fiona designs what the animatronic should look like. He designed, so presumably Henry gives them that official FNAF fan art, or not fan art, official FNAF art of the animatronics where it shows them that map I was talking about, the whole circus thing where they have the red cheeks and they have like the face split. Presumably he shows them that. Fiona designs the FNAF one, the classics. She says, this is what they should look like. You know, this is it. This is what it should look like. They make a layout for the 1985 location that looks very, very similar to the FNAF 3 Fazbear Frights location. We'll get to that. They almost have it done. Like he has prototypes for the FNAF 1 for the classics. You know, he has a proto pizzeria underneath his house, which we'll also get to later. He's got all this going on. Then, last second, and I don't know why. I couldn't tell you. They say, let's not do this. And this is where my actual first real controversial theory takes place, which is, sure. Yeah, sure. The first actual controversial take, which is the Unwithereds. I think the Unwithereds exist. I don't think there's just, there were spare parts. I think they were genuine animatronics that were fixed for the 85 location. Like, they used to look normal. That's the designs that they want to go with, the ones that he calls creepy. Because let's be honest, they, even fixed, they do look weird. They don't look as friendly as the FNAF 1 animatronics do. So Henry's like, use my designs instead, use the Unwithereds. Edwin's already, like, in massive debt. You know, Fazbear Entertainment keeps, like, spotting him money because he's like, I just don't have enough time and resources to do this because you're asking me way too much. Fiona...
Controversial.
Okay, well, if you go on Reddit, it's very controversial, okay? Fiona is the voice of reason. Fiona's the one saying, look, take your time, focus on smaller jobs, get some money, tell them to give you more time, just, you know, don't, just quit the contract, like, do what's best for you. Fiona is the only thing that's really holding him back from just...
Also, the coffee pot from the FNAF 3 HW Easter egg is down in the Proto Pizzeria, and a broken down panel of the FNAF 3 repair thing.
I was just talking about the actual map. There's this a map of Fazbear Frights. That there's a sorry, that scared me for a second there, or worried me. Fiona's the voice of reason. It's the only thing stopping Fazbear Entertainment and William from really getting their hold on Edwin and just having him basically just be their little puppet. And so, in Fall Fest 1970 something, 1970, as you keep saying, William, you know, has had enough of Fiona. He's had enough of it. And he's like, you know, if Fiona was just out of the picture, we'd have Edwin fair and square. And so that's what they do. Or that's what he does, I should say. And he starts a fire at Fall Fest. Presumably, I've said presumably like 40 times. I don't really know what other word I would use, though. Presumably film-related. He usually either...
Fest 1983.
Okay, well, it's not Fall Fest 83. It's not that. I will say that much. In Fall Fest's...
With William causing the fire here. Oh,
Yes, so in my opinion, this is William's first kill. I like this. I like this a lot for William's first kill. I always thought it was strange that just some dude just all of a sudden is a psycho and just starts killing kids for the fun of it, for the heck of it, and then afterwards is like, oh, maybe I can do something with this. Like, that's just so silly to me that he would just be killing kids for the heck of it. So I like the idea of him killing an adult for business reasons. It is strictly...
It's just where we're going next.
It's not for a while. We're not going there for a while. It is strictly business. He kills Fiona strictly to get Edwin under their control. So he starts the Fall Fest fire of 1970, or whenever she dies, I don't know. Whenever she dies, he starts that fire, presumably with film. He lights film on fire in something, just because there's a lot of emphasis on film for Secret of the Mimic, and like film reels burning, and just fire, Fnaf and fire, salt. You know how it is. He kills Fiona. He gets away with it. Edwin is ruined. It works. He falls under, he goes under, literally. His business goes under. Fazbear has no choice but to seize all of his assets. He can no longer make the pizzeria at a profit. Okay. No, god dang it. He can no longer make the pizzeria at a profit. He basically owes Fazbear Entertainment.
Fan of William just being a rando serial killer that just happens to become a remnant scientist.
Yeah. He definitely did something first. So his first kills for business. Edwin is destroyed. He basically owes Fazbear Entertainment its pizzeria. I don't know if he makes it or not. It gets made regardless, because it gets made. It has to at some point by somebody. He is destroyed by his wife dying. So he tries to bring her back in any capacity that he possibly can.
Science with Dr. Scraptrack proves you wrong.
He is...
One.
Oh god, no, stop saying one. He is hard at work trying to take care of David, their son. He can't take care of both David and do his work at the same time, so he's like, look, what if I just make another Fiona? And so he does. And he makes the M1. Well, first he makes the Mimic. He makes the Mimic first. The acronym. He makes the virus. Well, it's not really a virus at this point, it's a program. He makes that to help streamline. He has the Mexis. Hi, Chica. People hear Fiona's voice. Because they hear her voice through the walls and stuff, they think that Fiona's death was a scam, and that it was like an insurance play to get some more money. So they don't think she's actually dead. The employees are like, yeah, this guy's freaking scamming us. He says he doesn't have enough money to pay it for us, to pay us for our work. Like, we're leaving. So William, presumably W.A. in the messages is William Afton, basically takes all of Edwin's employees. They go to Fazbear, all the technicians. Edwin's by himself. He's got dwindling numbers. He's trying to get this done. People hear Fiona, but she's dead. He makes the M1, the robot, to take care of David. It does a terrible job. Does a really bad job. David does not die to a car. Well, I don't know. If David does die to a car...
Implied that N1 Fiona was brought about down in R&D of all places for some reason.
Yeah, so he makes Fiona to try to help take care of David, just like the books.
Delete the following message to see if the TTS reads it. Family, man, woman, girl, family.
Oh my god, no.
Woman, girl, family, man, woman, girl,
I'm gonna freak out.
boy, family, man,
I'm gonna... please.
boy,
Please.
man, woman, boy, family,
Please.
woman, girl,
Please
boy,
stop.
family,
Please.
woman, girl,
Please.
boy, family,
I'm sorry.
woman, girl, family, man, woman,
I'm sorry. What did I do, bro? What did I do to deserve this?
girl, family, man, woman,
Oh.
family, man, woman, girl,
Please.
man,
Please.
boy, man, woman.
Please.
Can you please stop? I've turned it off.
Okay. If David dies to a car, I like to think William hits him with his car. But I don't think that's the case. I don't think David dies to a car. I'm pretty sure. They talk about this. I wish I knew the quote, but I don't. Something about having the stars and the sun and bouncing his ball off of the moon. That's important. Bouncing is.
Doesn't have to do everything.
I know. That's why I said he does. I was joking. It was a joke. David doesn't get hit by a car. He bounces his ball off the moon. And the moon collapses and crushes him, and he dies. Which I know sounds brutal, but this is Five Nights at Freddy's we're talking about, so of course. The moon comes down and kills him. And David dies. He dies presumably clutching his little Tiger Rock plushie, which is why he...
Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence.
That's not even... It's not the point we're getting at here.
Gotcha.
He dies to the moon. The moon falls on him. You can see it. If you go to the theater area, the moon is collapsed. And that's where you start seeing the first image. That's where you see the little Tiger Rock, the white tiger. It's where you see the white tiger for the first time, the hallucination of him, the ghost. Because David has a very similar presence to, like, a Golden Freddy. No, that's a really bad comparison. Whoever's behind the It's Me stuff... Actually, wait, no. He is like Golden Freddy. So this is getting ahead of myself, but in my opinion, Golden Freddy isn't real. At least in FNAF 1. In FNAF 1, he's definitely not real. He is straight up...
Versus White Tiger fight.
White Tiger's the costume. White Tiger's the mascot. Tiger Rock is the thing in the book that is controlling the Pizzaplex. So I will stop calling it Tiger Rock. That is my mistake. It is the White Tiger. I will call it the White Tiger. Anyways, Golden Freddy in FNAF 1 isn't real. Golden Freddy is just a ghost. He is not a hallucination, but he is basically just a ghost. He is not real. The animatronic does not exist. Why would they repair Golden Freddy for FNAF 1? They don't. It is literally just Cassidy and the Crying Child. I believe in both of them being Golden Freddy. Them projecting themselves in. David has a similar thing.
In a fist fight.
Your mother. David is a similar thing. David is not a physical manifestation. That White Tiger does not really exist. It is just a ghost. It is a ghost, which is why, similar to how Golden Freddy kind of has a presence.
Daddy so dummy picka. He out-chungus big chungus.
What are we talking about? Similar to Golden Freddy, that's why David just kind of has a presence across the manor. Okay, that's out of the way. What was I talking about? He dies. To the moon. Edwin feels terrible. Edwin gets upset because Fiona was supposed to protect David. He beats up the mimic. He...
Madra S tan gorda que cuando mira, pace la vista gorda.
It's so bad. It's so bad. I'm not even gonna. I know what you said, but I'm not. I'm just not gonna respond to it. I know what you said, but I'm not gonna respond to it. Anyways.
Silly George.
Oh my god. Where was I? Well, this is like throwing me off every single time. He beats up the mimic. He breaks its legs. We hear the audio tape where the mimic's like, I made myself new legs. Don't they look good? And all of that. So he does that. It is important to note. It is very important to know. I probably should have said this earlier. That the Mexis, Fiona, F10NA, or is it a 4? Whatever. Fiona, and the actual M1 are two separate entities. One has Fiona's voice, the other one did. But the other one, the M1, is a mimic. It is just mimicking. It is not actually... They're different. It becomes different. And after David's death, it starts taking after David instead of Fiona, which is why Edwin beats it up, along with the fact that it was supposed to be watching David and then he died. Breaks its legs. The Mimic, M1, presumably kills Edwin in a fire. His body isn't there. We don't know. A lot of people think Edwin is Moon Man. That's in the basement. A lot of people think Fiona is Sun. A lot of people think Eclipse is when they kind of come to peace, Edwin and Fiona. Whatever that, I was never a big fan of that, but I believe it. Sure, why not? Fiona's the sun. Ah! Sorry for the noise. That was probably sounded questionable. Anyways, shut up. Oh my god, I'm gonna die. No, wait. Oh, it's Roxy too. I can't outrun you. You're so right. Ah! Stop. Oh no, that's Chica. She's teleporting. Chica, I will flash you, and I'm not talking about with a camera, brother. Anyways. Whether Edwin dies or not, whatever. I know this is a really great timeline. Amber, what? What? Can I say what? With what voice? Screw you, Chica. And so after the M1 fixes itself up and becomes David instead of Fiona, I just been calling it the M2, which probably is not the right thing to call it, but I've been calling it the M2. And in all my theory videos about it, and the 3 that there are, I've been calling it the M2. And when I say the M2, that's what I'm referring to, which is the David Mimic.
Also, I have a lot to say since I disagree with some points. But
sure.
I want to hear your idea on what happens in the SOT era.
We're getting there. We're almost there. We are almost there. We're almost there. If you disagree, go ahead and say it. I am not someone who thinks everybody who disagrees with me is dumb. I would be glad to hear other takes. I am not well versed anymore. I used to be really into Fnaf lore. Not anymore. I didn't read any of the Pizzaplex books. I'm not into it anymore. So this is coming from someone who's like very knowledgeable of the first 6 games and like Security Breach, and like that's it. So like if you have some insight that I don't, that would be great. We're getting to Secret of the Mimic. We're like right there. So Edwin dies or doesn't. He goes missing. And Fazbear forecloses on it.
Can't be first, so Charlie first or
I'm gonna freak out. Okay, you're skipping ahead like 20 years here. Just kidding. It's like 10. You're skipping ahead like an hour here of my time. Fudge. Like I said, Elizabeth dies to Circus Baby. Circus Baby can only exist if the Fun Times exist. The Fun Times can only exist if William is already killing kids. However, Elizabeth appears to be dead in FNAF 4, which is in 1983, before the bite victim dies. Dave. I'll call him Dave. Spoiler alert, I'm calling him Dave. The room is empty. Right, the room is empty. That's my only evidence for Elizabeth being dead. Also, I just like it thematically. I like Elizabeth's death being the idea that spurs William to genuinely just not give a care in the world and just become unhinged. I like to believe William cares about his children. A lot of people don't. I do. Charlie being first, I heavily disagree with. Actually, like before anything, before both of them, I heavily disagree with that. In fact, I am teetering on Charlie being after the MCI, which is crazy. I know.
Confirmed with the second movie, and that's so good.
That's actually so bad. I actually hate that Charlotte being killed at Freddy's and not Fredbear's, because that makes me right, and I don't like that because I tend to give out pretty like crackpot theories. Like a lot of times, it's like not like grasping at straws. Like they're rooted in evidence, but it's like a leap. And that was one of my leaps. Was that Charlotte was actually the last to die? Was not the first. She was last after the MCI. That was a leap, but it's seeming more and more true as each thing comes out. We'll get to that too. We'll get to that as well. I have multiple thoughts.
Last hop. Luau.
I love the way you spelled wow. It reminds me of the wow 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 based image. Runaway also depends on when Charlotte was killed. So if I like to think it's by victim.
Wound first inflicted on me.
I know that. Yes. I know. But that is literally impossible because William screws with Edwin first. So it's not even on him anymore. It's not even on Henry anymore. Fnaf 6 cannot... The first four games for sure are just like irrelevant. Not completely, but like irrelevant to the news story. Sister Location, very relevant to the news story. Fnaf 6, somewhat relevant to the news story. Yeah, that speech, for as great as it is, I don't know about that part. We'll get there. William really wants this technology, the Mimic. He wants the Mimic. John Andrews went over this. Murray's intelligent freaking machine integrated circuit, whatever. Mimic, the acronym. He wants the blueprints because he wants to mass produce this for whatever reason.
Confirmed that Edwin killed Fiona.
I didn't say.
He doesn't know if he did in fact do that.
I didn't say Edwin killed Fiona. I said William did. Yeah, sure. Henry. There's a chance Henry doesn't know. There's a lot of speculation that I'm doing. A lot of speculation. William wants the M1 and Henry. They both do. Edwin was really paranoid about it. He was like, nobody is getting this but me. But then he dies or goes missing or whatever. The Mimic, breaks his kneecaps. Whatever.
William as Edwin.
Yeah, I do too.
Sorry, my mom distracted me and didn't reread.
Yeah.
But we'll go on.
Anyways, they send, someone to go get it. They die. They don't come back. They're like, oh no. They send another person to go get it. They die. They don't come back. They're like, oh no. This happens repeatedly until Arnold gets sent there in 1979. Arnold gets sent there. And his relevance to the story, no clue. He might just be a normal dude. I know a lot of people really love to try to say like every character is important in this series. I'm getting like not philosophical on you, but I'm getting like big picture on you guys here. A lot of people try to make everything important, like every little thing, and it doesn't have to be. Sometimes it's just random crap. Like I like the idea.
My theories.
I like the idea of Bonnie Boy being Cass. Like, why not? But also, if Bonnie Boy is Cassie's dad, Bonnie Boy would have had to had her at like 40 years old, which I don't see happening. Because if he's a teenager in the 80s and Cassie's like 12 in like 2030, like that's not. He's a very old parent. It's this very old parent for that to be the case. I don't want to believe Bonnie Boy, but whatever. Not everyone has to be important. A lot of people think Arnold is like related to this whole thing somehow. I don't think he is. I don't see a point in it. Like, it would make things more confusing if he was. So he's just a normal guy. He gets sent there. Before the game came out, I used to think he was William. I used to think we were actually.
Is clearly integral to the whole story. Arnold is secretly the blob.
Yeah.
Or something low. Like William dying in a withered spring Bonnie suit, or withered Foxy's facial recognition scanner being broken.
Chat. Those aren't theories. That was already. People knew that already. People People knew that there was something wrong with Foxy's thing. That's why he can see through it. Similarly, people already knew the Spring Bonnie was kind of withered because it was sitting in the back room after the MCI. This is a very old suit from the 70s being used in like the late 80s that's been sitting in a room, a leaky room, a rubber room with rats. And rats make me crazy. Yeah, I figured that one already was like well known. Anyways, they send Arnold in. Arnold is my goat, bro. He is the goat. You know.
Not really new Dian.
Arnold is the goat. He's a rock star at his job. I mean, talk about living for the company. He just pulled what, a 36-hour shift doing Lord knows what, and now gets sent to the manor, the factory.
You know what crazy reminds me of? Crazy by William.
Fantastic, man. So they send Arnold in. You know what's crazy is when we're an hour into this and I've barely gotten to the first game in the series. That's so wild. We're barely at the first game in the series. He sends Arnold in. He gets there. The game events play out. I don't really have to explain that, right? Although I do have some takes on Secret of the Mimic that people don't like. Namely, the Mimic not being the animatronics that we see. Which I know it's very controversial for me to say that, considering the game is based on the Mimic, and all of the concept art has the Mimic in the animatronics, and the trailers have the Mimic in the suits, and everything is pointing towards the Mimic being in these. In my humble opinion, none of them are the Mimic, besides the R&D, the Randy, the robot with all the different parts on him. That's the Mimic. But the mushrooms, the elephants, the birds, the dogs, the caterpillar, the jester, Jackie, Big Top, all of those are not the Mimic. Do they have the M1 in them? Yes. Do they have the virus? Yes. Are they the Mimic in disguise? No. And I have reasonings for this that I think are pretty concrete. One, it's very established that the Mimic is stuck in research and development. Like, it's shown that he is stuck down there, and you need security clearance to get out of there. So, like, for one, there's no way he's up and about, because he's very obviously stuck down in the little bunker. Two, a lot of times the animatronics burst out of casings. The Mimic can't get into those suits if they're locked behind a casing. So the fact that they're bursting out of it and it's not already open goes to show that these things were just sitting there like that. Three, they touch on this. Hand unit touches on this. All of the employees that go down there and die get stuffed into suits. We see it. I saw it. There's an elephant suit with an arm, with a Fazbear technician like uniform with an arm sticking out. So these suits that are moving around are possessed. It's not a robot. It's regular old school FNAF fashion possession happening. They're possessed, and they're just mindless, and they're just trying to get you. You know how it'd be. It'd be like that. So that's my take on that. Arnold does his job. He boom bang bop, he's out of there, He gets the blueprints, he's chilling. And then Obviously, the parachute ending isn't real because the place doesn't blow up. That doesn't happen. Um, I genuinely think the moon.exe ending is a contender for the canon ending, which I know is crazy. I know. Because the good ending is never canon. Ever. Crazy.
Crazy for feeling so lonely. I'm crazy. Crazy for feeling so bad.
Ah, I'm gonna
Lonely
freak
and
out.
crazy
I'm
because
gonna
I know
freak
that we
out.
won't someday
This
meet.
every time you do this, I
Lonely
get
again.
completely thrown
Lonely
off.
and we don't see the mimics eyes in the mycelium men costumes like the trailers.
Yes, exactly. Yes, that is my point. Um, that was my point. They don't have the eyes in the actual game. It's just the trailer, which sucks because it's
What
such a
in the
cool
world did I do?
because it's such a cool concept to have the mimic like a stalker enemy, you know. But sadly, that's not how that works. And I'm pretty sure there's multiple animatronics at once in some areas. I swear there's like two at once. Maybe not, but I could have sworn there was two at once at some point, which defeats the whole idea that it's the mimic. And the idea of the mimic piloting Big Top like a mech suit is just I can't do that one. Can't stretch that far. Um, so I know the bad endings are always canon, and I talked about this in a theory how the bad ending is always canon. But I genuinely think Moon.exe secret ending has some merit, and Arnold gets out alive. Um, but he might not. I mean, I don't know. My issue is they establish that the mimic is locked underneath, so there's no way for it to get up, and it's in his van. Similarly, he parks his van outside. This was something I noticed when I was playing the game for the very first time. That I knew like, oh, we're headed for a loss here. Was he parks his van outside, but by the end of the game, it's parked in the garage. So that makes zero sense. I don't think the mimic is driving his van. I'm pretty sure he has his keys on him. Um,
Mimic is the poophead and F Red Baron Circus baby. 1.
okay,
1.
I know you're joking about that, but I actually have a theory about that, so we'll get there as well. We'll get there. I know you're messing around, but that's a genuine thought I have. So the bad ending being canon, the van. It's just like the van.
No.
I can't get over the van moving from outside parked to perfectly parked in the garage. Like I just can't. And then the mimic just hiding there. That makes zero sense to me. So we're gonna go with it being a combination of all the endings. Like, obviously, the things that we see in Parachute and Moon.exe exist regardless of what ending is canon, like the FNAF 4 bedroom, and the mimic being able to change sizes into the size of a child, which is where we'll get to my main theory part about this game. Um, so, regardless, William gets his hands on the mimic somehow. Both the Mimic program and the M1. He gets his hands on both. Um, my theory about the puppet and stuff is you hear the puppet music box jingle when you're going through the vent. So, which I know it's it's a real life song, right? But for in-universe purposes, we're going to say it's a Fazbear thing. It's in Edwin's place first. Jackie is in a box, just like the puppet, but duh, whatever. But also, Jackie has long arms. The puppet does as well. Now you might be saying, well, the puppet has feet. It has legs. And the Jackie does not.
Fools.
Um,
How dare you challenge me?
however, um, despite Jackie not having legs and the puppet having legs, there is a step in between, and this kind of feeds into Charlie's death. Not really. The security puppet. The security puppet exists. It is a thing that exists. The security puppet doesn't have legs. It is stuck to the box. The security puppet is also very plasticky. If you've seen it in FNAF,
Appreciated in my last outing.
if you've seen FNAF 6, or if you've played Ultimate Custom Night, which I've played the heck out of Ultimate Custom Night,
Show you my full color.
I don't know what's happening. I'm freaking out about this. whatever you're on right now. I'm in these, and this is also important. In the sister location office for Ultimate Custom Night, the security puppet is there. And it's plasticky. It's got that metal. It's not like that weird kind of sheen, like sheeny, satiny material we see in the movie, and what we can only assume it is in the games. Doesn't look like that. It's plasticky, similar to Jackie. It has those face plates going on. So I do think that Jackie kind of evolved into the security puppet to some extent. But it's a minute detail, but it just goes to show that every single thing Fazbear Entertainment did was really just taken from Edwin, and he really did all of the heavy lifting, and it just went unnoticed until he died, and nobody will ever know. But anyways, yeah, that's besides the point. William gets his hands on the Mimic and the M1. Or, well, as I would call it, the M2, now that it's David. And this is why I think the Moon.exe has merit to be the true ending. I think...
Question. What do you think of Jackie's similarities to Circus Baby 2?
When Ruin came out, I used to think that the Mimic was Baby's endoskeleton, and I'll leave it at that. That is all I'll say about that. They're both clowns, I guess. You could argue they're both clowns. Chica, I'm gonna flash you just like I Show Speed did. They're both clowns. I'll give you that. They're both. That's it.
Hey,
I'll give you that. We'll get to that as well. The Mimic and Sister Location. We'll get there. We're right there. I think the Moon.exe is canon. I'm just gonna say it.
a bunch of similarities if you want.
I mean, I see it, and I see how the Mimic is. Oh my god, that was so weird because my game froze. That was so weird. William gets the David version of the Mimic. He gets the shrunken down one that clutches the little white tiger plushie. That's what he gets. He doesn't get the homicidal Mimic. He gets the little baby subdued one that presumably Arnold cured, and then handed over the what's it called? It's called something. Auto
It's 6
some.
a.m. in my country.
You lasted 5 nights at Freddy's. Good job. It is not 6 a.m. in my country. Anyways, fudgesicles, dude, don't do that. I skipped over something that I really wanted to talk about. Now I'm thrown off. William.
Porno de bacterias Google busker. Oh no, si me olvido salir de esta pagina. CJSJS gay.
I don't know what's happening. Anyways, now I'm
Congratulations, Dean. Go get a Fazbear Grand.
thrown off now.
ER.
William gets the Mimic, the M1. He gets the subdued David version. David has the white tiger plushie. I had something and then I lost it, and it was like something new. What the heck was that? Oh, it's Chica. Okay, we're fine. Where's Vanny in all this, bro? So Oh, about okay, yes, okay. It was about Fiona and how the Mexis works. So, in Security Breach, the Mexis is used to subdue the M1, the mimic, the robot, down there. It takes the form of a purple rabbit after the fact. It is only a purple rabbit because the mimic is terrified of William Hampton, who kind of manifests as a purple rabbit. That's why. However, when it is still Fiona, and by the way, the whole Fiona Mexis thing is not a retcon. I literally think it's just flipped around. I think on one side it says Fiona, and on the other side it says Mexis, and when it's in the Pizzaplex, it's just flipped. And that's obviously Mexis and not Fiona. That is genuinely my take on that. I know it's lame sounding, but that's genuinely what I think. It's the only thing that just kind of makes sense without it being overly complicated. The reason why the Mexis is trying to... There's a reason why it's trying to give you... or why it's trying to get you to give it... is it called an auto driver? What's it called?
Fairly late, but I can see it.
It's called something. The thingy, the little key thingy that you use. It looks like a Faz wrench. It's like an early Faz wrench. The thingy, the thingamabobber, that you use. There's a reason why it wants it so bad. And it's not for the reason that people think. The data diver, not the auto driver. Holy crap. The data diver. I knew it was fun to say. Yes. I knew it was a fun thing to say. It wants it not for the reason people think. People think that it just desperately wants to get out, you know. It's all it wants. That's not true. We see in Ruin that the M1, the M2, I'm going to call it the M2 because this is throwing me off. The Mimic, the robot, the endoskeleton, and the virus are two separate entities that have two separate goals. We see them argue in Ruin, right? Gregory says one thing, Helpy says another. They're two separate entities. Similarly, the Mexis is Fiona. At this point. By the time we get to Ruin, it's different. But at this point, the Mexis is Fiona. And it thinks it's Fiona. And it very well might be. It might be possessed. Who knows? Which kind of gets into why I think William started killing. We'll get there. Killing kids, at least. We'll get there. So, all Fiona really wants, and I think it talks about this, is it just wants David. It wants a family again. It's all it wants. Which is why David, the Mimic, when you tell it its story and stick the data diver in its chest and turn it and you put him to a kid, he's chill. He's fine. Because all they want is to be a family. A weird robot family, but a family. So the reason why Fiona wants the data diver and that information is it doesn't want it to get out because it just wants to stay there. It wants to keep the Mimic down there just so they can be together as a family. And that's why the Mimic wants it for itself in the ending where it goes with you is because it doesn't want to stay and be forced to do stuff. It just wants to exist. It doesn't think it's a real person, but for all intents and purposes, it's like Ennard. I see the Mimic and Ennard to be the same idea, right? It's the same idea. It's the same story being told. 7 years later now, when this location came out, it's the same story. It just happens again and again and again. So William gets. He might even go there himself. Who knows? He gets the land. He gets the house on the hill, which this is why I started this whole thing to begin with, was because John Andrews' Fnaf kind of stole my thunder a bit and gave his, gave his majestic theory about how this huge sister location twists and whatnot and this and that. And all of this, when I said it 6 months ago, okay? 6 months ago I said this, and he's acting like this is brand spanking new information that he came up with. But I said it 6 months ago. which is that the house on the hill in FNAF 4 is the Murray house. It's a house on a hill that's small and has trees. I made this connection instantly. I made that connection instantly, and then he's acting like it's this crazy uncovered thing. Similarly, I also suggested that the bunker underneath, like that whole area, was the sister location bunker. I said that as well. I said that as well. I'm like, the bunker is the sister location bunker, and this explains why. And I went as far as to say this. I was like, everything is built on top of each other. So something Steelbull said before Security Breach came out, besides giving us just the word schematics and saying that was the whole freaking lore, they said they wanted it to be a less of a focus, and I've taken this to heart with every theory I've come up with, basically, about the new lore. They wanted it to be less of individual things being possessed and more of an, and I quote, ancient Indian burial ground situation. They wanted it to be the place that is haunted, not individual artifacts, which I think is great, because then that explains a lot. And basically, you have Edwin's house, the FNAF 4 house on the hill, which is not the house we see in the FNAF 4 minigames. This is different. It's different. The FNAF 4 house in the minigames is his actual house, and it's a few blocks away from Fredbear's. On the other hand, we have the house on the hill, which is also a few blocks away from Fredbear's. They all live in the same town of Hurricane, Utah, presumably, according to the books. And the manor, I think, gets torn down and gets turned into the Pizzaplex. But I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. So, a lot of people want to say that Five Nights at Freddy's 6...
For Frank's minigame house the same as Midnight Motorist house?
Yes. Yes. I'm going to say, wait. Hold on. No. Actually, no. I think that house is the house on the hill. I think that's because it's smaller. It's way smaller. I think that's the house on the hill. And on top of that, I think it's the same house that Michael is in Sister Location. It's not the same TV. That's basically my only... I don't know. It's convenient for everything to happen in one spot, so I'm just going to say that. I'm just going to throw that out there. So, this house on a hill and this manor, or this factory, and Fredbear's and William's house are all in the same, like, town, realistically. A lot of people wish that Freddy Fazbear's... I'm gonna freak out. A lot of people would like to say that Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place is Fredbear's Family Diner, and I get it. I do. I like that as well. I just... For my theory to work, it can't be, but also it could. It would just be like a stretch. It would just be like a stretch. You know, but it can be. So basically you have Fredbear's Family Diner, the house, and all of this stuff, all kind of in one, like, area. The house on the hill stays the house on the hill with the bunker underneath.
I liked it too, especially with the one stage that looks like it came straight from Fredbear's.
So, I'm just trying to, like, see what comes after what. Fredbear's becomes Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place. Michael essentially still lives on this house on the hill. Until both, because remember, technically both are owned by Fazbear Entertainment. They're not owned by William. They're owned by Fazbear. Both of these are then torn down. Or, sorry, Fredbear's isn't. But the manor the I keep calling it the manor, the factory where Secret of the Mimic takes place, and the house are torn down to create the Pizzaplex, to create this. And due to basic erosion and weathering, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place is underneath this. And underneath that is the sister location bunker. Vaguely. They're not like directly stacked one after the other. There's some variance, but like they're all right next to each other. And this explains why the area is so invested and why it just keeps happening over and over, is because the land is just haunted. Right? It transcends animatronics. It transcends Molten Freddy and the Blob, or William and Springtrap. Like, that's why Scott wanted Burntrap to just be a ghost who just kind of pops up, because it's not physical anymore. It's past being physical. It's spectral now, and that is what Ruin was trying to get at as well. And Security Breach with the Nightmare stuff and all of the puppet imagery is like, obviously Baby and the puppet are at odds here. Baby is everywhere. The plushies everywhere. The imagery of sister location is everywhere. Even the glam rock animatronics are very sister location-y. Like, there are ties to Baby and the Mimic versus like the puppet, Charlotte here. It transcends physical. It's more of a, but we're ahead of ourselves here. William gets the M1 in its tiny form. He takes it back to the house on the hill. He makes that his new house for the experiments. That is where a lot of people think he kidnaps kids to run experiments on them in the bunker. I do not think he does that. I think those experiments were on the crying child, because he knows the Mimic is dangerous, right? It was killing people, so he wants to basically scare it into submission. And he locks it in this FNAF 4 bedroom that he recreates in the bunker. He sets up some of his fake animatronics, and through whether it is fear gas or illusion discs, he creates the illusion of the nightmares. And Five Nights at Freddy's 4, nights 1 through... Nights 6, 7. Nights 6, 7, and 8, or 6 and 7 of Five Nights at Freddy's 4 are the Crying Child. But the Crying Child... I'm gonna get... there might be some pushback on this. The Crying Child is David, is a robot. He takes David, he fourth closets David, just like how Henry did with Charlotte, making it look like a human. David becomes Dave Afton. The only...
We're going right into the FNAF 4 section now. All right.
This is like pre-FNAF 4, but yes. I don't know really what would have come between Secret and FNAF 4, but we're here. He fourth closets David. I'm going to call the Mimic David from now on, but it's still the Mimic, but I'm calling it David. He fourth closets him.
Knights 1-5 RCC. Michael is the rest.
No. Okay, we'll put it this way. Every single night is both of them, except night 7. That is strictly the Crying Child. The Crying... See, this is where it gets iffy, okay?
Let me know when is a good time to start bringing up my contract ideas
just do it now. Just do it now before I get on a roll. My FNAF 4 takes are wild, so just do it. Just get it over with now. I can talk about...
Mounds of mayhem.
I'm gonna freak out. I don't know what you're talking about anymore. Yeah, just get the Secret of the Mimic stuff out of the way now. Because it'll be too jarring if I'm too far ahead and you're talking about that and I have to go back. I will continue still. I'll mosey around this.
Asterisk cracks fingers
I'll mosey around this because I have takes about FNAF 4. So, I am a dream theory enthusiast. I do believe that the original story of Five Nights at Freddy's 1 through 4 was that it was all a dream. A coma dream for Crying Child. That's, I think, a lot of people don't believe, like, even for the time, don't believe it. They're like, no, that was never the case. It was.
I see the briefcase is safe.
It, like, it was most definitely the case. Like, that, there's no way that you can look at all of the things Scott said about Toy Chica's beak and the shadows being misunderstood in the eyes of a child. 4 games, 1 story. You cannot look at all of that and tell me FNAF 1 through 4 was not meant to be a dream. And similar to the box.
C6 not a robot.
Okay, buddy. I'll get to that. I will get to the Crying Child being a robot. We'll get there. I'm playing a game where I am playing as the Crying Child as a robot. So we right now I am the Crying Child as a robot. So we'll get there though. You know, with the box, I think what was initially in the box was proof that FNAF...
Isn't a robot.
Gregory's a robot. Proof that FNAF 1 through 4 was a dream. I think that's what was in the box. And I think that's very fitting.
CC.
Gregory is definitely a version, just like how Vanessa is somehow tied to Elizabeth, Gregory is somehow tied to Crying Child. Scott said on opening the box, you know, he said it's there. There is something in there, but he said, and I harked on this a lot. On a video that has never been made. Actually, it's not made, but it was the first script I ever wrote, and it was like,
Obama hamburger sussy balls.
oh my god. Anyways. What was in the box was proof that it was a dream. Whatever items those may be, whether it was a Toy Chica action figure missing a beak, whatever it was. It was there. And Scott said, if I showed what was in the box, would the fans accept it this way? And that's always lingered in my mind, right? Would the fans accept it this way? Because why wouldn't they, right? Why would people be upset unless it was because everything was a dream? Because that is a huge cop-out. Although I think it was done very, very well in FNAF 1 through 4. I think the dream arc was done as good as it could be done. But, you know, whatever. It doesn't matter anymore because it got retconned instantly with Sister Location, like less than a year later.
But I'll go with the things I can confidently suggest as counters. The first being that I think David was killed by...
The Monty float? I didn't even know there was a Monty float in Secret of the Mimic. The reason I think he was killed by the moon is and I don't know where I saw this. It might have just been on Reddit. About him bouncing his ball off the moon. They make a point to this. It's in the moon.exe ending. It's like a riddle. And I had the hardest time because I thought the sun was a snowflake. And I was like freaking out. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. You had to get toys and match them up. And the ball went in the moon box. And they talk about, that's the last thing that happens as well, is him bouncing his ball off the moon. And there's a ball. I think you get a ball toy? Maybe? You get the ball collectible at the broken moon? Like, it's tied. Because the story's about David. And it talks about how he bounces his ball off the moon.
There's
And-
theory about who killed David. Do you want to...
Sure, I guess. I'm speculative of anything you type in here, but sure. And so I feel like he literally throws his ball at the moon, it comes loose and
Explain
falls
why
on
you
him.
think this. Firstly, the owl in Moon.x is being attacked by a gator, specifically...
Of course it wasn't a serious inquiry.
It was EDP 445.
That the alligator eats people in this... I mean, yeah, I do vaguely remember that. Yeah, the baby owl is David, and the bad guy is Edwin, and the mask maker is Fiona. It you know, sure. I what killed David really does not matter to me. Um, I just know there's a lot of moon imagery, and Edwin is portrayed as Moon,
Was
and
Susie the first MCI?
yes, she was the first. Yes. Um. Anyways,
It doesn't matter. Fair enough.
I mean, not to like put you down. That's not. I'm not saying that because I'm wrong. I'm just saying like.
I'll move on then.
I'm just saying like, for all intents and purposes, how he died. The point remains the same. He died. It's like asking how William killed the MCI. Like, it really doesn't matter how he did it. The point is they died. The point is David died. Um, I just think it's the moon because the moon is what Edwin is, and Edwin is kind of portrayed as this guilty figure. He feels vast guilt because it was his fault. He could have just washed his son instead of making a robot to do it for him.
Luego existo.
You know, that's it's his fault in his mind. He's to blame. And so the moon being his form makes sense if the moon is what killed David. He's like manifesting. He's manifesting as his own guilt,
Bart said that.
which makes sense, Um. Anyways, Fnaf 4. William Fourth closets David. The reason we have Evan Afton in the first place is from the thing with the mirror, and it was EVAD, and people saw EVAD or whatever because of the cipher, right? The frickin' the crossword or whatever it was with the Foxy puzzle, whatever it was.
All right, most of my points are mostly just alternative explanations that don't really change the result, so I don't think I have an EP.
Anything to add to this? My bad. I don't know. I mean, for in my opinion, small details don't matter, which is something that infuriates me about the Five Nights at Freddy's Reddit,
Continue explaining,
is that
please.
people focus way too much on very minute details that mean nothing. Like, who cares about what William used to kill the kids with, or where they got killed, or like, it's such small stuff that like it does not matter. It adds nothing to the story besides
Never find the
insight.
survival logbook and do the
No,
Foxy
I
thing.
didn't. I'm getting there. Ugh. I have so much to cover, and I keep bouncing around. Um, I'm just gonna, yeah, too many details that people focus on for no reason. That's why the FNAF subreddit, I just gave up on it because it just annoys me. Um, so it was EVAD. People put it in the mirror. They got, or the other way around. Whatever. They were like, well, it must be Evan because Evad isn't a real name, so it's got to be Evan. And people just went with that. and he was Evan Afton for years. I used to call him Crying Child. A lot of people call him Bite Victim, which I find weird. They call him BV instead of CC, because I feel like Crying Child is like the only, like, that's what he is. He's a crying child, but whatever. But literally EVAD, and then you put it in the mirror, it's Dave. And him being Dave Afton makes leagues of sense if he's David Murray. If he was David Murray Mimic, if he was John Mimic, and William Fourth closets him and just adopts him into the Afton, yeah, why not? Right? He does go, Steve Raglan, Dave Miller, he's David Murray, and he becomes Dave Afton. And William runs the fear experiments on him to try to subdue him. So he's like, I can't have you being I can't have you being a homicidal robot, and killing people. So like, I gotta scare you into submission, and so he does. And he asks Michael to keep tabs on him at all time. He locks him in his room as much as he can, and on top of that, he creates Psychic Friend Fredbear. A lot of people think Psychic Friend Fredbear is like Cassidy or something, which makes absolutely no sense. Psychic Friend Fredbear is literally just William sticking a walkie-talkie in Fredbear with cameras in his eyes. It's literally all it is. And similar to how David always carried around the White Tiger plush, Bite Victim always carries around the Fredbear plush. It's the...
Hold on. What do you think N1, 10 francs N4 is doing during FNF 4?
Fiona? Okay, so William he has this bunker to himself. I was just about to touch on this, but I'll touch on it now, I guess. I'm going to touch people now. This is why William started killing kids, in my opinion. Right. He kills Fiona. He sees Fiona in the Mexis. He goes, wow, this is great. David dies. I would imagine, when the guy who you're pretty close friends and partners with, son dies, you would know. You would be notified. So he knows David dies. And then he sees David in the Mimic. He goes, wow, there's a tie here between people dying via, like, violent deaths and them having some form of eternal life through a robot. And he sees this and he's like, I should do this again. I should figure this one out. And so he starts making the fun times with the help of the M1 with Anyways, he starts making the fun times with the help of Fiona, which has now been reprogrammed to Hand Unit. It sounds like Hand Unit. It sounds like Dispatch. It's no longer Fiona, right? It's just the Mexis. It's Hand Unit. It's the Cislocation AI. And so that's what they're doing. He's making Cislocation, all the while doing this FNAF 4 stuff to Crying Child. Because he's prepping. He's a prepper. He's a smart man. This is a smart man. He's not going to kill... See, and this is where this Cislocation Elizabeth 83, Elizabeth 85 death kind of gets resolved. People say, well, why would he create the fun times if he wasn't killing kids yet? He's a smart man. I think he created the fun times in preparation to kill kids. Right? This was prep. He was doing work here. He wasn't about to get caught. He was doing work. So he's prepping this whilst keeping tabs on the Crying Child like crazy. It would explain why Michael bullies him. So way back when I was reading the Twisted Ones, you have this idea, and like I said, I always viewed the Twisted Ones as a parallel, like what Charlie, I was going to say Charlotte and Charlotte at the same time. What Charlie and Henry are is what William and, like, the Crying Child are, right? Henry lives on a house on a hill and has a pizzeria underneath his house that also has waterfalls, and I'm pretty sure, like a grotto, no, I'm not pretty sure, a grotto, and then I'm pretty sure fluorescent plants. And what we see in Ruin is a grotto with waterfalls and fluorescent mushrooms. So, like, very obvious, like, this is supposed to be the same thing. Except instead of Henry, it's William, right? So they're flipped. And Charlie has this brother, Sammy. Sammy Emily. I still don't know if he's real or not. Because apparently William knows about it. When she asks, when she's like, you kidnapped Sammy, he's like, I didn't kidnap Sammy, I kidnapped you. He knows of Sammy. So whether Sammy Emily is real or not, whatever. I always thought Sammy was Crying Child. And I thought Sammy Emily was a real character. And after Charlotte dies, it plays out very similar to the books. So, Charlotte dies, Henry makes the fourth closet version of her, but he's addled by grief. He's going insane, so Charlie goes to live with her aunt or whatever. Then he kills himself with Circus Baby. Well, he doesn't. It's not with Circus Baby in the books, but in FNAF World, he kills himself with Circus Baby. In the games, it's a thing with silver eyes. That's why it's called the silver eyes, even though the eyes are red. It's because the foxy thing, whatever he kills himself with, is silver eyes. He kills himself. That obviously doesn't happen. He's alive. He does kill himself, but in a fire way later. I thought Sammy, Emily, William and Henry look very similar in the books, and I think that's just because I don't care about TF2. Unless it's Titanfall 2, in which case I care quite a bit, but anyways. I always the artist sucks. Whoever he hired, whoever it is, they suck. Like all their characters look exactly the same. It's not great. And Henry and William look identical. It's strange. They look identical, and I was like, maybe they're brothers or cousins or something. I don't think that anymore. I used to. I'm just trying to get through this thought process of why I think what I think today, right?
Claudia Schroeder.
So, anyways, we get to a point where I'm like, the crying child's adopted, or the crying child isn't an Afton. And this goes to the Immortal and the Restless, right? This goes all the way to here. Like, in the Immortal and the Restless, the vampire is very like, this child is not mine, this child is not mine, this child is not mine. It obviously is, but he keeps saying, like, it's not. Which would make sense. If Henry and William, this was at the time, if Henry and William were related, and
Pinky Pill's real name.
yeah, they're both predators. It doesn't matter. Pinky Pills and Lady Flitzy, whatever. They're both predators, pedophiles. Anyways, where was I? If Henry and William are related, because they look identical, that would mean that Sammy, Emily, would be like somewhat blood related to William, which would make sense for them to look similar. Which would make sense if it went to William. If the child, like, Charlie gets killed, Henry goes missing, they're like, William, you're like the last immediate family left, like, he's got to go into your custody. And he's like, fine, takes him begrudgingly. And he's like, well, you're not my kid, I don't care about you, right? So he runs fair experiments on him. And we also explain why Michael hates the crying child. He's like, dude, you're not even my real brother, like, why do I have to take care of you? So that was always my, like, explanation, was like, this crying child is not an Afton. And that's why Michael doesn't like him, and that's why, you know, William is like, the child's not mine. But he looks like him. He looks like him and acts like him. And there's an explanation for that. If William does fourth closet David, he would obviously try to make him look like he fits in with the Aftons. He would want him to look like an Afton. Right? So that makes sense for him. I had to get out of there. I was parkouring there for too long. That would make sense. For the crying child, David, Afton, robot, you know, to look like an Afton. Which is why Michael doesn't like him. And why he's so willing to just torture his own child like this. Because it's not really his kid. It's a robot. Who he's just saying is his kid, who he adopted. And so, yeah, he does his experiments, he tortures, and crying child is freaking terrified of anything Fredbear related. The animatronic. I'm not, I swear. Well, the first stuff was like pre new lore. This is post new lore. Like, he's torturing the crying child. He's trying to basically train AI, which, you know, is what you do. You do train AI that way. Not that horribly, but, you know, that way. He keeps tabs on him everywhere. Obviously, he doesn't want people knowing that he's a freaking robot. That would be terrible. Eventually, it's, you know, his birthday party, and Michael throws him in Fredbear's mouth, and Fredbear bites him. And Fredbear bites him. And no blood comes out when his head gets crushed. And you might say, well, maybe Scott did that because, you know, showing a kid dying would be too gruesome. Okay, you know, in a game where the whole lore revolves around kids getting brutally murdered, yeah, he just didn't want to show this kid dying. You could say, well, you know, Fnaf's never been that gory. Well, you know, when William gets spring locked, there's blood in that scene, quite a bit of it. So for there to not be any blood in the bite is interesting. His head just kind of gets chomped. And then for William to, you know, say, you are broken, not, you're dead.
Explain why crying child bleeds. He does bleed during the jump scares.
It just, the screen just goes red. I mean, okay, why does Arnold see film every time he dies? Why does the FNAF Night Guard see static every time they die? It goes red. I mean, the whole theme of FNAF 4 was red. The text is red, the background is red. You know, it's just red. It's just the theme. This gets to Gregory and Security Breach as well. There's no blood. William says you are broken, not like you're dying, or like you're in a like you are broken. I can fix you. I will put you. We are your friends. Do you still believe that? I will put you back together. Not like, you know, I'll bring you back, but I will put you back together, literally, because you are a robot, and I'll just do that. You know, and this kind of destruction also explains why the Mimic looks the way it does in Ruin, right? Its face is totally different. It looks totally different. Because it got destroyed. It broke. It just broke.
When Michael gets scooped, the screen turns red.
That's not a... Michael doesn't die. Michael technically lives through that, so... I don't know. And the crying child doesn't die because it's not real. William wouldn't kill him doing these fear experiments. He would not kill him. So the jump scares, like, he's just gonna collapse and start crying, like how he does in the game, in the minigames, or in the cutscenes, in the whatever, in the story beats.
But he dies.
He the crying child doesn't die in the Knights canonically, so that doesn't quite work like that. So he's like, he vows to put crying child back together. That's a thing. I've skipped over so much because I believe in bite victim runaway.
Like how William seems to survive despite becoming essentially a skeleton.
Yeah, William's a zombie. Well, I'm pretty sure the Remnant has, like, regenerative abilities. I'm pretty sure he has regenerative abilities, which is why he still has, like organs and stuff. And, like, why Michael also isn't a skeleton and, like, presumably has skin that's purple and stuff. Getting ahead of myself. I believe in bite victim runaway. This is like where this falls. There's two routes. There's two routes that I see here, right? Either the crying child is a robot, and, you know, remember what you saw and all that. It's just the stuff that William's been brainwashing him with. And Michael is the runaway. And all of that. Or the crying child, I mean, could be still a robot, but also could be real. And remember what you saw is Charlotte's death. Or just a death in general of a kid. This tracks.
Started rotting. He died. Remnant made him posses himself or something. You like it or not?
I don't think he's possessing a dead body. I think he's in there. He came back to life. Just like how William always comes back, Michael did too. He came back to life. He is not possessing his own body. He is just alive. Um, like I said, Remnant has regenerative abilities, which is why William still has like body parts, even as Burn Trap. He like has stuff regrown. My point is, while all this is happening all at once in 1983, the 1985 location of Freddy's is open. Hi, welcome. We're getting out of hand because yeah. 1985 Freddy's is
Yeah, speaking of Remnant, do you think the molten power metal in MCM is Remnant?
perchancedly. I don't think so though. What did you miss? Not a lot. I spent an hour talking about from Fredbear's singing show. We're at FNAF 4 now.
987.
We're at FNAF 4 now. So I've made it through 2 games in like 2 hours. It's great. We're at FNAF 4. We're at the end of FNAF 4 though. So in 1983, 1985 locations also open. MCI 85 is heavily implied. I know. It's a lot to cover. I'm going in depth here. I'm going very in depth here. So MCI 85 is heavily implied. Charlotte.
FNAF 4 was the first to happen.
Well, Secret of the Mimic obviously has to happen before that, because Secret of the Mimic, Steel Wolf flat out said, is the earliest game in the timeline.
We finished discussing Sotman, currently finishing the Bite of 83.
So I'm a believer.
David, he isn't a robot. Gregory isn't CC. He isn't a robot either. Elizabeth
Died after CC and Charlie died before. No. Wait. No. Okay. Okay, so you are an old believer, and I like that. I like that you are. See, you're where I was at 4 years ago, where I was like, Gregory can't be a robot. Gregory can't be Patient 46. Like, they have to be real people. This has to mean something. Like, please, like, because Gregory being a robot is such a cop out and such a unsatisfying conclusion, not to come to. But here's the thing: Scott Cawthon is not a good writer. And Steel Wool is also. They are not good writers of this lore. Okay, FNAF is not a well-written story. Everything that you think would be conclusive and nice and like, oh, this would be such a great story beat, doesn't happen. Anything that you think is satisfying, anything you think might be a satisfying conclusion is never the case. It's never the case. So that is why Gregory is a robot. Because whatever is the worst possible conclusion you can think of, like, how could I butcher this story the most? That's what they're going to go with. How can I keep dragging this on, this franchise, for 11 years? And just it's jumped the shark like 15 times. You know? How can I keep this up? That's what they're going to go with. They're not going to go with the most sane conclusion, like, oh, this would make so much sense story-wise. No, they're not going to do that. So that's why Gregory is a robot, and that's why Gregory is also the crying child, who is also a robot, who is also David, who is also a robot. Because we can't have nice things here. If we can have a location stacked on top of a location, stacked on top of a location, stacked on top of another location, we can have a robot who is also another character, who is also another character, who is also another character. It's just... This franchise is whack. It's not good. The game universe, the rules are not good. We're getting too far into logistics here, and not like what I was trying to get at. Charlotte dies last. I'm sorry. Well, okay. She might. Okay. See, this is where I'm at. She either dies last or she possesses the puppet last. Whatever her manifestation as the puppet happens last. That's all I'll say. Maybe she dies first and is in some form of limbo for a couple weeks, but the puppet thing is last. Okay.
Personally, I'm a fan of the robot human idea.
Oh no, I hate the robot human idea. I think it is the worst. It is the most cop out, terrible. But here's the thing: that's what they always do. They always choose the most cop out, terrible idea. But yeah, I think it's terrible. I hate it so much. I wish Gregory was his own character. I wish Vanessa was her own character. I wish we could just move on from the Aftons, move on to the aftermath. This is the aftermath. But no, they had to loop it back, which is whatever. It's I don't care anymore about good story. But we're past that. We passed that when they kept going after Ultimate Custom Night. You know, we passed any form of respect for this franchise. So whatever Charlotte is, by the time she's the puppet, the MCI has already happened. That's my point. That is the point I'm trying to make. Fudge.
Okay.
And the reasoning for this is vast. It's not vast. I have 2 points of evidence. Screw you, Chica. Let me flash you real quick. It's 2 points. One, in Help Wanted, to get the Bonnie mask, you have to light the graves a certain way. And the pup...
Mrs. K. Boss Ms. Moti Moots Canto on La Cabeza.
Yes, I might be stupid in the head. Maybe. Most likely. Most definitely. But my point still stands, okay? You have to do the graves in a certain order in order to get the Bonnie mask. And this certain order, I don't know the exact order, but Chica is first, which tracks, right? Chica is first in the games. That tracks. And guess who is last? Golden Freddy, and then the puppet. The puppet is last. It is the last grave you have to light. And I remember when I saw that for the first time, I was like, okay, I already knew this. Like, it wasn't shocking to me. I was like, I feel like this makes sense. And the reason it makes sense is because in Give Gifts, Give Life, in that minigame. So it's important to remember that Charlotte is the one, like, she's the reason they're possessing the suits. She's the one who technically stuffs them in. William does put their bodies in the animatronics, but she's the one who puts the heads on them. She's the one who... She does the thing. By the time she does it, they're all already dead. Like, she could have done it one at a time, but no, they're just sitting there. They're, like, waiting. And she kind of comes up and, like, sees this. Because her whole thing, she's the security puppet. Like, she... You know what I'm saying? She should have seen this coming. Like, she should have... The MCI wouldn't have even happened.
You convince yourself so much that things are this specific way, you don't stop to think if Scott is actually like that.
I think Scott had an idea. He said it in the docu interview. He's like, I have an idea of how I want to get to somewhere. He's like, I have an end in sight, but I don't have any of the details. And so basically, he just keeps filling in detail after detail, and then he forgets. He's like, and by the time we get there, the initial message is kind of lost, and now I have to change. Like, he basically said he does it as he goes, which is fine for the first 3 games. But when you have 11 years backlog of lore, you cannot go and just write as you go along. And it's a terrible idea. It's a terrible idea. And that's how he said it. He's like, I have an end in sight, and then I just kind of figure it out. And no. Like, no. You have to... When you're owning such an IP that is so saturated, you have to be painstakingly careful.
They were so preoccupied on whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if we should.
Yeah, okay. Anyways. Shut up, Roxy. I genuinely hate you. Not Ruin Roxy. Ruin Roxy, you're awesome. But you, Security Bridge Roxy, you had it coming. So, Charlie dies last, I think. I mean, it sucks, because she should die first. We know she doesn't die at Fredbear's. At least we have that confirmation from the movie. She dies at the quote unquote original Freddy, so the 85 locations. So whenever, whether she dies after or before the crying child, I don't know. I don't know.
Roxy, you don't clank her.
I hate. She's annoying. She sucks. She's super fast. She freaking hears everything. Like Chica, I can deal with the teleporting of Chica. I can deal with that. I can deal with
I don't
Monty.
either, but most people do.
But Roxy, I mean, oh my God, she's insufferable. You know, I'm the greatest. I'm your favorite. Just blah blah blah. She's just so narcissistic. Ruin Roxy is fine. I like Roxy and Ruin. She's chill. I was sad when we had to put her down like a little dog. Tragic. Anyways,
Clank, clank, clank.
I'm
I'm
unsure where Charlotte's death falls and where Elizabeth's death falls and where the crying child, like that order. They happen in quick succession. But I don't know. I'm pretty sure the MCI is in 1985. Like that's, come on. You know, come on. It's just like, I feel like the security puppet would be implemented because of the MCI. Does that make sense? Like, because the MCI is not child murders. Like that's an important thing. It is the missing children's incident. There was not a murder. They just went missing. For all they know, they could have just wandered outside. Like there's nothing to it. There's no evidence of a murder. They're just missing. So there's no reason for Freddy's to close down. But to install a security measure, like a security puppet, would make sense. So to install that after, and then same with the wristbands. So you notice the kids inside have wristbands. That is a real life thing that people have in, like, you know, like laser tag places, or I'm trying to think of like the right word for this. It's not like a playpen, like an Urban Air, or like a 21 Jump Street. I think that's what they're actually called, like after the movie. But like an Urban Air or a Sky Zone, you know, they'll give them wristbands that they trigger a sensor when you leave. So if a child leaves with the thing on and like tries to run away or gets lost, like it'll trigger that, and then people know, like, oh, there's a kid who's running away. I'm pretty sure that's what the bracelets are in that like cutscene of Charlotte dying. I'm pretty sure those bracelets are just those trackers, and the security puppet marks like follows those trackers.
At this time of year, 1985.
I'm gonna freak out.
Time of day, 26, in this part of the country, localized entirely with.
Yes. And no, you can't see it. Yes, and no, you can't see it. I spring a good lock, you know? Anyways. The MCI happens in 1985. See, I don't like Charlie dying.
The house is on fire.
No, mother. That's just the bite of 80. Was that the bite of 87? It's just the bite of 83. Don't worry. It's the bite of 6-7. I'm like so off track because this part of the timeline is the most like muddled for me. I don't like Charlotte dying after Crying Child. But I think I'm going to have to put my foot down and say that's what happens. I'm going to have to say the M1 breaks. William's like, oh no, this sucks. Not really, but it sucks. He has all he needs at this point. He has the idea down. I need to kill someone and fuse them with the robot. I gotta see more. I gotta understand this, right? There's something to this. So, you know, Sister Location Bunker is being created preemptively. Not after he started killing kids, but beforehand. He just happens to see the opportunity kind of spontaneously in 1985. That wasn't planned, I don't think. That's why he had to hide him in the suits. It was kind of like, oh shoot, this is happening now, you know, or else he would have just used the fun times, but he didn't. That was preemptive. I think Freddy's does close
Look up
19,
illegal.
1985. It closes shortly after. Not because of the murders, right? Because once again, they're not murders. They're missing children. The MCI happens. Well, actually, yes. Sorry. I am so sorry. It is because of a murder. It is because of the only confirmed murder, and that is of Charlotte Emily. That is why the pizzeria closes. Because of the one confirmed murder.
Fnaf theories. DC
Don't even get me started on the DCI. That is any time I see a theory on Reddit and I see those 3 letters, I'm immediately like, nope, screw you, you suck, you don't know what you're talking about, I hate you. We'll get there though. We're almost there. We just got to get through this sister location and then we'll be at FNAF 2. And sister location is quick for me because I know that game. I know that lore like the back of my hand. So we're gonna go ahead and say Crying Child dies first.
It's real.
Fredbear's eventually closes due to this simultaneous spring lock failure, as they call it, even though it's not a spring lock failure because that's not how spring locks work. It was already in animatronic mode and it just chomped down naturally. We'll say it locked up. I would imagine the tiers would like lock it up, and that's why it clamped down and stayed shut. I will say that. But it was, they claim it's a simultaneous spring lock failure, whatever. Fredbear's closes because of Crying Child's death. So now all we have is the 85 location. The kids go missing. They're like, oh no! They make the...
Sister location takes place after FNAF.
Oh, you're one of those guys. Anytime I see that, I freak out. I crash out when I see that. I have a lot of evidence for why sister location takes place, when it does, where it does, why it does. We'll get there. It's the thing I'm the most confident in is sister location. We'll get there. We are like 4 more moments away.
Ditophobia.
We are like 4 more minutes away from that. So Fredbear's closes. All we have is the MCI'd Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. They implement a security puppet, probably stolen from Jackie. Same theme song and everything. And they're like, yeah, this will stop kids from running off, surely this will do it. Little did they know, Charlotte got left out and didn't get a bracelet, so whoopsie daisies. Or did she? I don't know if she did or not. I could have sworn she doesn't have a colored one. Maybe she does. Either way, she escapes. She gets kicked out. She's sad. She's looking in. She's like, well, I have no friends. William, for whatever reason, I can only assume he just doesn't like Henry. And he sees just another chance. I'm pretty sure it's... Henry was already...
Built during the 80s, but SL takes place after 1, according to Ditophobia, which you used as proof.
I will tell you what I didn't use as proof. Ditophobia, because I don't know what that is. I did not use that as proof because I don't know what that is. So, yeah. Anyways. Henry has his suspicions about William. Whatever. William kills Charlotte for whatever reason. He's drunk.
You said they used gas.
Oh, I just said that because people seem to agree on that. I like to think they're illusion discs. I would rather them be illusion discs. People just say it's gas. What I think it's illusion discs personally.
You believe in the experiments.
I believe in experiment singular on the Crying Child. It's a parallel. I don't think it's real. I think it's a parallel for the Crying Child to subdue the mimic into not being homicidal. Once again, you don't believe in robot theories. I used to not. I used to hate them. Well, I still hate it. I don't like it by any means. I just think it's what's happened. I'm done talking about it, though. We are past that. We are at Charlotte's death now, which is after the crying child bite. Which means that Elizabeth is still alive, which is very upsetting. But Elizabeth is still alive, sure. Frick it, why not? The crying child dies, Charlie dies, Henry goes MIA. William gets investigated, gets arrested, does not get convicted. They just don't have enough evidence of the MCI because they say, well, there's no bodies, this isn't a murder, but apparently there was a yellow rabbit involved and you do wear that yellow rabbit suit, but that's as far as they had. Charlie was a drive-by stabbing? So, there's nothing there. But Henry knows. Henry knows William killed Charlotte. So that's why he just leaves. He's done. He's like, I'm not doing this anymore. He leaves. Leaving the entire Fazbear empire to William, basically. Because of an actual murder taking place at Freddy's, they can now only assume that the MCI was also murders. So Freddy's closes. And William is like, finally, my time to shine. I have these fun times just sitting here. Let's open up Circus Baby's Pizza World. And then, the day before it's meant to open, the literal day before it's meant to open, Elizabeth gets too close to Baby and gets scooped. She dies. William's like, oh no, we can't have this happening again. So he closes it. He says gas leaks, right? He says, I'm sorry, we can't open. There's been a gas leak. We can't open the restaurant. People are like, oh no. Anyways, whatever. So instead of Circus Baby's Pizza World, he just opens up Sea Bear, right? Circus Baby's Entertainment and Rental. That's a successful business that goes on. He has Funtime Chica, Funtime Foxy, Funtime Freddy, Baby, and Ballora in the mini arenas. Presumably Ballora in the mini arenas.
One of the suits. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one.
Yeah, I know.
Someone used it. It's a Fredbear suit.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I do agree with that. I agree that Fredbear was used for one of them. For something. I do agree it's Fredbear. They're talking about Withered Golden Freddy. But, however, this is going to get even crazier because I don't believe in the DCI. Well, I do, but I believe the DCI and the MCI are the same thing. We're gonna get there. I'm telling you. I am telling you, we are so close to getting there. So, yeah. Sea Bear opens. William, Freddy's Fazbear's closes. The kids are still in there. The animatronics are still in there. The Unwithereds, right? They're still in there. And he's like, I gotta get these kids. I gotta get this remnant out. I gotta inject it into the fun times. I gotta start experimenting. Like, this is perfect. So, William goes back. And this is happening simultaneous. This is so crazy, right? Oh, wait. I don't know how much I like this, but it's okay. We're just gonna roll with this, okay? We're gonna roll with this. There's a hole in this. There's a very big hole in this. But it's okay. It's okay. It's fine. I think it's fine. I want to say it's fine. Does the MCI say 5 kids go missing? Does it? I gotta look this up now. Does the FNAF 1 newspaper say 5 kids go missing? Does the FNAF... I can't type. Does the FNAF 1 newspaper say 5 kids go missing? Or is it just kids in general? 5 children. June 26th. Is that genuinely what it says? Yeah, the suspect was caught. So William was arrested. He just wasn't convicted because there were no bodies. I don't like that. Okay. Fine. 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 I hate it.
A rant about why DCI can't be MCI.
I hate it, but fine. Okay. 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 Fine. 5 kids were killed in the MCI. Whatever. I was gonna say that the DCI consists of one dead kid, and that dead kid being Cassidy, and that being the whole Fredbear suit being used because he stuffs Cassidy and Golden Freddy. Nope. It does not work because 5 kids went missing. Well, wait. Well, if you count Charlotte, she might count as the 5th kid in the MCI. But then that would make Golden Freddy happen after Charlotte, and that defeats the whole purpose of her being last. I don't know.
Fnaf 1 newspapers say that the on-stage mascots were leaking blood and mucus following the MCI, meaning it had to have happened while TH.
I hate when it cuts off.
In Saw Them, we see the DCI are killed after the wizards are scrapped for parts.
FNAF 1. All the Classics wizards were still in use. We're... Save... I wish it would show the second chat, because I wanted to read that again. Okay, we're gonna get we're gonna get to this. I have thoughts, and they're not very concrete thoughts, but they're thoughts nonetheless.
The FNAF 2 location was open for only a few short weeks in
I know that.
November, but the MCI
Happens in June. We're getting there. We're getting there. Okay. Here. This is okay. Okay. This is what we're gonna say. For now, I don't like this, but I can't have 2 things happening at the same time. So, like timeline wise. So I'm gonna go ahead and say the 5th MCI kid is Charlotte. She's the 5th. And this tracks. Kind of. This kind of tracks.
Foxy Go Gago depicts the MCI as happening while Withered Foxy was still in use. It's also a separate minigame from Saw Them, which would be Redo.
Which would be redundant if they were meant to depict the same event. I don't know about that. I think they are meant to be the same event. I think it's just showing how kind of William used the animatronics. I don't know. You're look, once again, FNAF 2 irrelevant. FNAF 1 irrelevant. FNAF 3 irrelevant. FNAF 4 irrelevant. In the new lore grand scheme of things, a lot of these things, a lot of the mini games that are the 8-bit mini games just don't make any like they irrelevant. You know, the puppet being on the walls of FNAF 1, you know, is strange addition. Like there's some questionable things in the first 4 games. Anyways, the 5th kid is Charlotte. The MCI happens. It closes down. William... this is where I don't like this. See, this is where I no longer like this.
Henry's insanity ending speech implies Follow Me takes place in the same building the MCI happened at.
Yes, I agree with that. Yeah, look, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. We're getting ahead of ourselves here. We're getting ahead of ourselves here. He kills 5 kids in 1985. 4? I will when I get there. Just let me get there. We're like 2 games in the future right now. I'm not saying the DCI isn't real. I'm just saying the dead children incident is the missing children incident. Anyways. the the MCI happens. 4 kids die. The original 4. The Withereds. The Unwithereds, I should say. The 5th kid is Charlotte Emily. She dies. She's the only confirmed murder until they realize, oh, there's freaking possibly dead bodies in these suits. That's 5 confirmed deaths.
Andrew.
Andrew isn't real. He's a book character. He's a book character. I do not like people who genuinely bring in Fazbear Fright's characters into... It's like Hudson Frightguard. It's like people who believe in Hudson Frightguard. They're not right in the head. Hudson being the Frightguard is genuinely so annoying. People genuinely think he's a real character who exists. The one you should not have killed is Cassidy. Cassidy is Golden Freddy, the little blonde boy, right? Not a girl with black pigtails, which is how she's depicted a lot of times. I always thought it was a boy. Blonde. That's what it looks like, a boy. The little images of him. Her, them, it. It.
Is not vengeful.
Cassidy is the vengeful spirit. Cassidy is the one you should not have killed. Cassidy is the one keeping him there. And I will explain it. I will explain why. I will when I get there. When I get there. When I get there. I will explain why. We're not even at sister location yet.
Revenge.
We're not even at... This isn't about a vengeance. This is about revenge. Charlotte is an avenger. Cassidy is... It's selfish. It is strictly for revenge. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. You've been stalling me for like the past... You've been stalling me for like the past 20 minutes on this, okay? I need to get to sister location. Charlotte's the 5th MCI victim. Freddy's closes down. Obviously, William can't go right back to the closed Freddy's, because that would be suspicious. That would be very suspicious. But he goes back nonetheless. He does the thing. He does the thing where he goes and dismantles the animatronics, where he leads them to the back room and then he dismantles them. He takes their remnant.
With Captain America.
I'm gonna freak out. I'm gonna freak out. Okay. He takes them. He takes the remnant. He injects it in the fun times. This is important because remnant and souls are 2 separate things. Remnant is what gives like that's the energy. That's the energy to harness. That's physical. That's tangible. Souls are not. Which is why the fun time animatronics are so aggressive. So Remnant gives things.
Remnant is a piece of a soul.
Remnant is molten metal, right? Remnant gives things the power. It is why Michael is able to live. It is why William is able to live. Souls are different. However, when you have things that both have the remnant and soul of something in it, it makes it doubly as powerful. Which is how you get things like Charlotte the Puppet, who's very intelligent, because both her soul and remnant is in the puppet. That's how you get things like Circus Baby, who is also intelligent and is basically just Elizabeth, because she has both her soul and remnant in there. It is similar to why Golden Freddy is so powerful, because he has both the soul and remnant of Cassidy. This is why the FNAF 1 animatronics and the Unwithers are not super powerful, and that is because they only are working on soul power. They do not have remnant. They are only working on soul power. Similar to how the Fun Times are only working on remnant power. Similar to how Molten Freddy is only working on remnant power. Which is why that turns to Agony and why we get the Blob and all that nonsense. I hate Agony as a whole idea. We're getting ahead of ourselves once again. William goes back, he takes the remnant from them, he injects them in the Fun Times. Boom, bang, done. The new and improved Freddy's opens in 1987. While it opens, while this thing is opening, William says, hey, Michael, My son. My son who is in his 20s now.
Cassidy isn't vengeful.
In his 20s. We'll say Michael's in his 20s. Right. Michael's a
Read your
teen.
first post.
Or no, actually saying Michael's in his 20s is crazy. Michael is an adult, presumably. Presumably he's an adult. Right. He's a teen. We can say he's a teen in FNAF 4. Right? 14, 15-ish. By the time we get to Sister Location and FNAF 1, or sorry, FNAF 2, it is now 1987. It's 1987 basically. Maybe 1986. But I don't think so. I know I said Sister Location took place in 1986 in my theory, but I'll push it to 87 just for the sake of this. There's a reason, or there's a reason why Michael isn't. I don't know. A few weeks before it opens, right? Before the place opens, or even it's. I mean, I don't know if FNAF 2 takes place the week it opens. I don't think it does. So we'll say around the time it opens, Williams knows he's going to kill again, right? He's like, great, a new restaurant. We're running it back. William tells Michael, hey, you know how your sister went missing a while back? You know, like, I know where she is, dude.
I'm right. Me Chad you soy dog.
He's like, you know, I know where your sister is. You should go down to this bunker that's under our house, and you should go find her for me, because she's definitely there. And, here, I need you to, you know, do this thing for me. And put her back together, apparently, is what he says. He's like, I need you to do this, Michael. Go do that. William doesn't like Michael. He's basically setting him to his death. He knows. He's doing this so he basically gets free time to do FNAF 2. So, like, whether it's happening at the same time or not, I don't know. Michael goes down. He's 18, 17. You might be saying, how does an 18-year-old get a job as a technician? Well, when you're the son of the owner of the company.
His own.
He doesn't. He specifically says he followed his father's instructions. He says, I did what you asked me to. He said, I did exactly as you asked. I put her back together. So he was tasked. He was tasked. William tells him, whether verbally or through a note or through just straight up clues, that there's a bunker. He goes down. Yeah, how does an 18-year-old get a job as a technician when your daddy's the CEO of a company? You get the job. So he's a technician. He goes down. He does his 5 nights. He sees 2 other technicians die. Doesn't think anything of it, because at this point, right? It's not a job. Like he's trying to find his sister. He realizes Elizabeth is in there. They initially think he's William, which is why they're hostile at the beginning. The Biddy Babs, stuff like that. Eventually, Elizabeth realizes, oh, you're Michael. She's like, I can capitalize on this. And when I say she, I mean the Mimic program says I can capitalize on this. I can get free. And it does. It tries. You know, it does. You get scooped, right? Elizabeth manipulates you into letting her scoop you and walk free. Michael has to cope with being dead. He walks down the street 5 times or six times until he becomes purple and says, you won't die, you won't die, you won't die, over and over again. Then he comes back to life. This is why Jeremy Fitzgerald, my goat, Jeremy Fitzgerald, is the night guard for nights 1 through 6 of FNAF 1. He's a night guard from 1 through 6.
Mimic isn't baby. Next You're gonna say Mimic is Dispatch.
I know you're just trolling because Mimic is Dispatch. And Mimic is literally the John Fnaf. I literally said this is based because of the John Fnaf theory. So the Mimic one is what's running Hand Unit, it's what's running the Fun Times, it's why it's how that's happening, right? So you keep sidetracking me. This is annoying. This is so annoying. This is so annoying. So yeah, he gets scooped because Michael's dealing with, being recently dead. He's not the night guard for nights 1 through 6 for FNAF 2. It's Jeremy Fitzgerald. He's the GOAT. Jeremy Fitzgerald, sadly, gets his frontal lobe bitten out. Oh well, whatever. He lives. He lives. That's all that matters. My GOAT, Jeremy Fitzgerald. He survives. And then Michael is able to take over for Night 7. Sadly, he is too late because William has already killed again. This is where it gets iffy for me. So I know Golden Freddy can show up, I think, on Night 3 of FNAF 2, but he doesn't show up until Night 6. I know for a fact he doesn't show up until Night 6. Like, a lot. Like, that's when he becomes an animatronic that is genuinely a threat. This is important because we know that in the day of at least Night 6 or Night 5, place is on lockdown because there was a murder. Because someone used a suit, a yellow one, and now none of them are acting right. And this is where things kind of pick up a bit. So the reason why I think the Wizards are so withered is because William dismantles them, right? I talked about that. William dismantles the withered animatronics to put their remnant in the Fun Times. That's pretty confirmed. I would argue that he...
Gonna say Mimic is Charlie, William, Michael and the CEO at the same time.
Anyways, I'm just ignoring it at this point. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's all but confirmed that, he dismantles the Unwithereds for, like, those are the MCI kits. Those are the remnant that goes into Fun Times. That's the Follow Me minigames are the Unwithereds. Because Freddy has a button, and classic Freddy doesn't have buttons, Withered Freddy does have buttons. That's literally the evidence for that. Which explains why they look so terrible by FNAF 2. You might be thinking, they're literally just sitting in a back room. Why do they look so terrible? Because William freaking beat the crap out of them, so he could freaking get their remnant. And you might be saying, well, then how are they still bad in FNAF 2 if he took the remnant out? Because they still have their souls in them. The souls are still residing in the suits, right? The souls aren't possessing the endos, the remnants in the endos, which he burns down. The souls are still possessing the suits, which is why even if a new endo is stuck inside them, they're still possessed. So that's where we get FNAF 2 from. He kills one kid in the FNAF 2 incident. He kills one kid. He doesn't kill 5 more. DCI, I'm sorry. DCI is the MCI. He does. There is a murder at FNAF 2. I'm not saying there isn't. But it's one, and it's Cassidy. Cassidy gets murdered.
FNAF Dispatch game.
What? Cassidy is the FNAF 2 murder, which is why Golden Freddy shows up so much after Night 6, which we know is when a yellow suit is used, not Spring Bonnie. Because Spring Bonnie is still at the FNAF 85 location. Right? Spring Bonnie did not get taken with the crew from 85 to FNAF 2. But Freddy did. Golden Freddy did. Because he's still Freddy, he's still part of the brand. Right? After the, Golden Rabbit was associated with a murder with the MCI, they're like, yeah, let's not take that over. Which also explains why it's sitting in the back room when he gets spring locked. Right? Why it's not in the FNAF 2 location. He uses the Golden Freddy suit to kill Cassidy. And I think, and this is just speculation, and once again, one of those small details that doesn't matter, that he spring locks Cassidy. Right? Everyone speculates that the one you should not have killed is killed brutally, in a brutal way, and that's why that one's different than the rest, because it was a brutal death. And the fourth book, Step Closer? No. Yes. Step Closer. Yes. The one with Foxy on the cover. The fourth book. I know it's the fourth book. In The New Kid. That's the story.
Mimic is a dinosaur.
Oh my god. How do I mute people, bro? In The New Kid, there's a kid with blonde hair. And he gets spring locked. They put him in the Freddy suit and he dies. And then the kid who goes to check up on him also gets spring locked. He puts his hand in their mouth and it jumps down and he dies of blood loss. The weird part is the new kid then being alive at a new school later. That's a strange whatever. We're gonna ignore that. So Cassidy gets spring locked in my mind. That's why the death is so brutal. That's why it's the one you should not have killed. And that's why the yellow suit is so aggravated. Obviously, after the spring locking.
The only dinosaur. That's right. Do fast.
What are you talking about? Dinosaur. The Stitch Wraith. The Stitch Wraith stingers. I don't think the Stitch Wraith is real. I mean, the Stitch Wraith just reminds me of Ennard, honestly. And the Mimic. Fazbear's Frights, the end, were obviously setting up a security breach that never came out, so it's kind of irrelevant because that version of security breach was never released anyways. And once again, the whole two souls in the Stitch Wraith was literally just a parallel for the two souls in Golden Freddy. So, whatever. Anyways, Cassidy dies. That's why Golden Freddy's so active on Night 6. He's the one, they, she, it, whatever Cassidy is the one FNAF 2 murder. Place closes down, again. William runs away, again. Jeremy gets bit by the thing, again, by Mangle. He gets bit. Now it's the second bite that's happened. Michael works Night 7. He's too late to stop William. He's too late, or whatever. That's the thing, right? So, like, the sister location speech is not aggressive at all. Like, when he says, I'm going to come find you, like that's not an aggressive, like, I'm going to come find you and you're going to, like, pay, like...
DCI is not just Cassidy. The week before says Foxy did the bite.
Foxy isn't active. The Wizards aren't active. They're in the back room. Mangle makes sense because Mangle is Foxy. It's not Mangle. Mangle is Toy Foxy. So, like, Foxy doing the bite, that is Mangle doing the bite. And we see Mangle literally bite in her jump scare. She goes right for your head, right for the top of your head, or the.
Think Cassidy is part of the DCI, but okay.
It makes sense for Cassidy to be part of the DC. Well, I'm not calling it the DCI. I'm going to call it the FNAF 2 murder, because that Golden Freddy becomes active after that point, after the murder, and so that would imply that murder was Golden Freddy. The Springlock murder. Cassidy. Cassidy gets killed. Michael's too late once again. Whether Michael is genuine, like I would hope Michael is upset with William after learning that like he's killing people and experimenting on them, and got him killed. I would hope Michael is trying to right the wrongs that his father's doing. But hey, maybe he genuinely just wants to see him and get some answers when he says, "I'm going to college." He doesn't sound upset. He says, yeah, Fritz Smith is Michael Afton, right? Mike Schmidt is Michael Afton. Fright Guard is Michael Afton. That's common knowledge. FNAF 4 guy is Michael Afton having nightmares after FNAF 1. That's why it's why Chica's on the right side and Bonnie's on the left. And why we hear the FNAF 1 phone calls. Oh, hi, Chica. Let me shoot you in the face real quick. So yeah, that's that. So Michael's too late. Kid has already died. Unfortunate. Sucks to suck. He still tries, right? He starts dismantling animatronics and doing stuff, which gets him fired, right? He gets fired for odor because he's literally a decomposed body, and for tampering with the animatronics because he's trying to take them apart. Whoopsie daisies. The place closes down. He sets fire to the animatronics, which is why they're burnt, why we see the burnt hallucinations of them in FNAF 3.
Security breach doesn't take place on the date.
What are we talking about with security breach, bro? We're not there yet. We're like halfway through this, bro. So yeah, the FNAF 2 done. FNAF 2's done. William got away once again. Michael's dead, but not dead. He gets fired. Place shuts down. He burns the animatronics, but doesn't really work. We get to there's a big lull from 1987 to 2003 when FNAF 1 happens. And the reason for that is because William gets himself killed. William goes back one last time. This is where my theory gets sketchy, right? Because there's... Sorry, 1993. That is what I meant. I was thinking of the movies that take place in 2002. Yes, 1993. I was just thinking 2023. I don't know why I thought 30 years after 2003 was 2023. I don't know. This is where the theory gets sketchy about Cassidy not dying in the 1985 location. Because Cassidy's there in the 85 location when William comes back one last time after FNAF 2. But at the same time, it would make sense for him to come back one last time if it was because there was a new edition. So that tracks to me. If we've seen that Golden Freddy can just move on his own in the movie. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying, regardless, Cassidy is there in the 85 location when William goes back one last time to do one last sweep to say, hey, did I miss anything? Do I want anything? Do I need anything? One last time. He goes back. He sees the spirits because, once again, Remnant and spirits are different. He sees the spirits. They corner him. I genuinely don't know what he's so scared of. I don't know what he thought they were going to do to him. But he gets in his suit. He gets in his suit, and he starts laughing. He starts laughing because, like, he did it. They fall for it again. But, unfortunately for him, at this point, it's like a 15-year-old Springlock suit that was dangerous to begin with. They're in, like, a super damp, dank location. There's water dripping. It's been sitting still for years, presumably at this point, just in this room, just sitting still, which is never good. things lock up. It's not good. So he gets in it. He gets himself spring locked. And because it's a back room that is not programmed or written into the schematics of the building, nobody checks it. And that building is just left to rot because nobody wants the murder building. Nobody's going to want the murder building. So he's just left there. He's just stuck there. And that's why there's a lull. But then, someone, for some reason, opens up Freddy Fazbear's Pizza again. Who does it? We don't know. But somebody does. It's kind of unimportant because, once again, Fazbear Entertainment is a company. And while William is owner of said company, he also owns Afton Robotics. Like, he has superiors who he talks to. Still. Like he's working as a guard. Like, William's working as a guard. So I don't think, like, maybe he got ousted. Actually, that makes a lot of sense. I would assume William gets outed of the company after his arrest, because that happens a lot when a CEO or someone high up gets arrested. They're like, "Oh, you're done. You can stay, but you're not the face anymore." So I would assume after 1985, that's why he's working as a guard in the first place by FNAF 2, right? That checks to me. I mean, he could have worked as a guard in 85 too as well, just because at that point it's one location and it's just him and Henry running it basically. But he's a guard. He's a day shift guard. New owner, who knows? Could be Edwin. Or not Edwin. Sorry, could be Henry. I doubt it. Henry kind of wants nothing to do with it, right? He's gone doing his own thing. But someone restarts Freddy Fazbear's. We get FNAF 1. Michael's like, oh shoot, it's back. And he sees that they use the withered animatronics. They refurbish them. I think that's what catches his eye, and that's why he works there, because this is the same set. This is the same set of possession, of robot, of kid. It's the same set in FNAF 1 as way back in the MCI. It's the same set of kids. At this point, nobody wants to go here. There's been 3 locations related to Fazbear Entertainment. One had a kid get bitten. One had 5 kids go missing that were then learned to be dead. Another had another kid die. They're like, we're not going here. So it struggles. It's not a very happy business. It's struggling. It's not in the best upkeep. It's cheap. It's no longer this place to go anymore. It's 1993. It's not even cool anymore to go there.
Let me out of this spring block suit you trapped me in, dragon. It's getting
So, Michael goes to work there. He works the night shift. And sure enough, he sees that it's me, and he's like, yup, it's them. It's those guys. And, what he doesn't know is that in the back room, his father's just sitting there, decomposing. Well, the FNAF 1 location is the 85 location. As far as I know, that would make sense. So that's, William's just sitting there in the back decomposing. Yeah, he does his thing. He works his 7 nights, trying to, find a peaceful way to, like, disengage or deassemble, the animatronics. But he can't, so he just sets fire to the dang place. Once again, he gets fired for, tampering and odor because he's dead. He sets fire, and that's that for a bit. Because the only thing he knows is that Remnant dies in heat, right? Like, that's all he knows, so of course I'll do fire, but he doesn't realize that there isn't any remnant in them, and that it's their souls, but whatever. 30 years later, at this point, Michael's like 50, you know, or like his late 50s, early 60s. William's, you know, 100. They make Fazbear's Fright, which is not associated.
Cassidy is Arnold all over again.
Are you like on drugs at this point? You on like freaking heroin? Since only somebody on a heroin would be that incoherent. Anyways. Fazbear, it's Fazbear Frights, right? It's not Fazbear's Fright. It's Fazbear Frights. Fazbear's Fright would make a lot more sense, but you know. Fazbear Frights is not associated with Fazbear Entertainment. They are not a property of Fazbear. It is its own dude. It is just a guy who
Cassidy is Arnold all over again.
who wants to make money. And so he does. He's like, let's start this freaking attraction, you know? Let's do it. So he finds as much memorabilia as he can from these past locations. This Fazbear Fright place may or may not be an old pizzeria, because like a scrapped use franchise location. That franchise location being the schematic we see in Secret of the Mimic, in R&D, in Randy. We see the FNAF 3 layout. So we can only assume that it was a past Freddy's, which makes sense for them to build Fazbear's Frights on a past Freddy's. Which is why, you know, once again, we have like weird kind of haunted stuff going on. So Michael sees this and he's like, "Oh, here we go again. Let's work here and see if there's anything here." And sure enough, there is stuff there. And he does his thing. William exists. He meets his father again. He does the happiest day. That is canon. He frees the souls of at least the original 4. I think happiest day is canon. He frees the souls of the original 4. Cassidy does not. Cassidy stays. But the other soul in Golden Freddy is gone. So it's just Cassidy. Cassidy's the only one remaining. And Charlotte. Charlotte's the second only one remaining. But the other, you know, Susie, Fritz, Jeremy, and Gabriel,
Happiest day colored kids.
they're gone. You know, Susie, Gabriel, Jeremy, and Fritz, they pass on. They move on. Somewhat. They somewhat are able to move on. Michael burns down. Michael has hallucinations. This is why I think the Fright Guard is also the FNAF 1 guard and the FNAF 2 guard, right? Because he's seeing hallucinations of both the Withered animatronics and the FNAF 1 animatronics. And you wouldn't be able to have hallucinations of this thing if you've never seen it before. And they're burnt in his hallucination, which would make sense if he had seen these things burnt, which would make sense if he had... If it's, I don't know. I genuinely... I hate it. I hate it. Let's just put it that way. I hate it. It's such a stretch. I hate when people say, the alligator kid's Andrew. I, like, genuinely want to kill myself. But people say stuff like that. Whatever. They get their happiest day.
DCI.
If you want to believe it's the DCI, you go for it. They get their happiest day. They move on. Michael sets fire to kill William. William does not die. Michael goes back into his little...
OCN is due fast.
He goes back into his little hiding, wherever he's been hiding. I don't know. Probably still the same house. Not 4 House on the Hill, but I... Actually, that makes sense. Because he's still... Technically, Fazbear still owns it, and he's still part of that company, so that makes sense. He goes back into hiding for a couple years. I'd say maybe 2 years later, 2025. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place opens. And this is where things make 0 sense. Right? Henry is still alive in the 2020s. Henry, who is an adult in like the early 70s, who has a kid, who is old enough to have a kid in the early 80s, is still like kicking. And I know he wouldn't be like ancient or anything, but like he's like, 80. Like this dude's old. Let me do the math actually. So let's say he's 20 in 1970, right? Which I think is a fair thing to say. Bro's like 75 years old by Fnaf 6. 75, which is crazy to me. This is an old guy. This is an old guy. Who's messaging me? This is an old guy. I can't believe we got through that so quickly. I'm kind of astounded with myself, I'm not gonna lie. I managed to get through the lore of FNAF 2, 1, and 3 like freaking in no time. Which is awesome. It's good. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. So then, after that, Michael works at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place. He's like, let's do this one more time. He does it. What I don't understand is why Henry says, my brave volunteer who found this job listing not intended for you. That doesn't make sense, because I feel like it was very much intended for Michael. And then he also says, I feel like you are exactly where you want to be. Whatever. They burn it down. Sadly, once again, Henry does not understand the difference between Remnant and Souls. Luckily enough for him, though, he doesn't have to worry about that, because Molten Freddy is only Remnant. And so they die. And all of the kids, they finally are done. They are done. The MCI kids are done. However, William's soul remains. While his remnant is gone, his soul remains. Same with Baby, same with Charlotte, same with Michael. The fire does not kill that. And so, their souls are left just lingering. 10 years later, 2035, 2033-ish, Fazbear rebrands. Well, it rebranded with Henry, but it becomes a corporation, which is different than their kind of, what's it called, a sole proprietary, or partnership proprietary company. Became corporation, which means it's kind of less personalized. It's more of a standard business. They, before opening anything, are like, look, we need to right the wrongs of all this. So they make FNAF be our help wanted. They scan. I'm gonna like breeze through this because this is all like common knowledge, and it's really late. I gotta go to bed. Um, they get memorabilia. They scan chips in accidentally. One of them happens to be the M1. Whoopsie daisies. So they do that. Boom. M1 is in Fnaf VR Help Wanted. Infects people. Blah blah blah. At this point, the virus is like so accustomed to William. It's like, yeah, let's just start killing more people. Let's keep this running. A part of me also does believe that William's soul is in this chip as well. Once again, the Fazbear Incorporated know of Springtrap's existence, which really irks me. That they know Springtrap exists, and not only that, they know there's a guy in there, and yet they're just like, yeah, let's throw this in the game. So that means that they very well taken a chip from like Afton. Like they could have taken a piece from him. So we have a little bit of Afton's soul mixed with this M1. And we get the virus that we see in Security Breach and Help Wanted and Ruin and all that. The one that wants to kill kids and continue this legacy. So, Jeremy cuts his face off. A lot of horrible stuff happens to people named Jeremy in these games. Cassette Girl loses also as well. She gets us, the player, Vanessa, to do it as well. Vanessa also loses, becomes Vanny. She gets brainwashed into thinking she's Elizabeth Afton, right? A father named Bill. It's very obviously supposed to be a father, William Afton. Father's named Bill. She gets brainwashed into thinking she's Elizabeth when she's Vanny. Once again, because the M1 is controlling all of the Pizzaplex, it's able to get her a job at the Pizzaplex as the only security guard, by the way. And they get back to work. They start cutting down more kids or whatever in an attempt to bring back what little soul is left of William. Pretty sure she's just being, once again, manipulated by the Mimic. Whatever. She doesn't know that. Gregory, the crying child as well, the actual, he exists to some degree. Whether as a normal kid turned brainwash-y or a robot, he is programmed to aid Vanny. Somewhere along the line, Michael, who is most likely still alive, let's be honest here, he's most likely still alive, reprograms Gregory to want to inherently hurt the animatronics. So the security breach plays out. We get the events of security breach. We get the Princess Quest ending. That's the canon ending. Gregory destroys the animatronics, frees Vanessa for the most part. Not entirely, because he only plays 3 out of the 4 Princess Quests. So for the most part, she's fine. There's still a bit that lingers, but she's fine. So they're chilling. They're fine. Then comes Fnaf VR Help Wanted 2, where we play as Cassie's dad, presumably. Bonnie boy or not, who cares? It's not important really to me. This happens before Ruin, but after Help Wanted. After Security Breach. So the thing to note with Security Breach is after it kind of like the sinkhole floods in. So after the Princess Quest ending, they go back. Right. They don't just leave. They come back. They're like, we got to end this. So they try to burn it down. They're like, this is like, we got to finish this. They go down to Burn Trap. They realize there is no Burn Trap because that got retconned, but it's the Mimic instead. They seal it up. They seal up that wall. They're like, this is not good, you know. So they seal it up with that the new. We see that it's a new Fazbear like forklift thing, and the cement bags are new. We see that the wall is very out of place. They discover the Mexis. They're like, let's just keep this here. It's doing its job, you know. Let's keep it here, but let's just wall this up just in case. Gregory leaves his backpack down there, and you know, blah blah blah. We learn that the burn trap stuff didn't actually happen because there's no evidence of burn trap being in there. The area exists, sure. The area exists. But there's no burn trap to be seen at all. There's no blob to be seen. Actually, I think the blob is in ruin, but there's like no evidence of that happening. The layout isn't the same as it is in Security Breach. Like it's different. The way you get there is different. Like it's, you know, not the same. So Help 1 and 2 happens. Right. This is post Gregory and Vanessa coming back and basically burning it down and knocking the place down. Fazbear Entertainment wants to rebuild. They try to rebuild. That's why they send Cassie's dad in. However, Cassie's dad has some knowings of what's going on. He may or may not be the guy who's like, I have to save the princess, the arcade machines, they are communicating. He might be that guy. He might be. And he's just locked up, he's holed up in this room. But I don't think so, because we would have seen him in Security Breach, so I don't know. Point is, after they leave, he manages to make his way into the sinkhole, into Fredbear's, into Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place. He makes his way in there. And he plays Princess Quest 4. That's canon. You know, he goes down the sister location elevator and all that. And he frees Vanessa. He does. He frees her of Vanny. However, he also, both endings happen. He frees Vanny, but he still loses. He still puts together the Faz Force, effectively surrendering his mind over to Glitch Trap. And he becomes Maskbot. And he becomes the Maskbot who gives Cassie her Vanny mask in Ruin, which essentially frees the Mimic. It's kind of like a little cycle there. So he assembles the Faz Force after freeing Vanessa, and he loses. He dies, unfortunately. Then Ruin plays out. Cassie frees the Mimic. Gregory is a freaking stone cold killer, which is why I think he's a robot, because he's so quick to kill Cassie. He's like, I'm sorry, but we can't be followed. So he just cuts the elevator lines. Cassie falls to her death, but she doesn't die because we hear Roxy say Cassie. So we know both Roxy's, whether Roxy's alive or it's the Mimic talking, we don't know. But we know Cassie is alive because she hears it, or else she wouldn't have heard it. So Cassie is alive, stuck lower than we've ever been. Right? Below the sister location bunker. She is stuck below that. At this point, you know, we possibly have Michael Afton in here. I would love to see a Michael Afton Cassie team up. As, you know, along with Gregory, Vanessa, and Freddy. Kind of all trying to figure this out and put an end to this forever. Just for them to kind of realize that the Mimic is everywhere. And it's like Umbrella. And there's just no stopping it. And they just kind of cut their losses. They say, okay, we can't deal with all of it, but we can at least deal with Afton and Baby, right? Because Baby is the true threat. After Afton kind of gets washed away, the true threat is Baby, who's really just the M1, who's really just, the helpy version, right? That's what Baby. It's a mix of Elizabeth with this M1 program. Charlotte is trying with the help of, Michael. They're fighting for control, but it's a stalemate. Eventually, Gregory has to be the one to try to put an end to it. Doesn't quite work. We learn that yeah, we took care of Afton. You know what? Heck, the burn trap ending can be canon to an extent. But it was a drawing, so I don't know. Maybe the actual happening, like burn trap, can exist, and they stop him, and they kill him. Afton's done. In my opinion, at this point, Afton is done. All that's left is the Mimic, who thinks it's Afton, and the M1 virus, who also they want similar things but different things. The M1 Elizabeth just wants to continue her legacy, whereas the actual robot's like, no, I am the legacy. Like, we're not continuing anything. Like, I'm gonna get my freedom and I'm gonna do my own thing. So that's where we're at now. Is this gray area after Ruin, where it's like we assume Cassie's okay, and she's gonna be on the Team Phas Force with Vanessa, Freddy's head, and Gregory, along with Michael Afton. Possibly a return from Edwin Murray if he didn't actually die. And we're gonna see all these guys band together to take down the Mimic and the secret mystery person who set all this up in the first place. And with that, it only took me 3 hours, but I went over the whole Fnaf lore. It is now 4 a.m. I am done. I did it. I'm done. I did it. I thought this would be impossible. I'm not gonna lie. When I went out to do it, I was like, oh, this isn't attainable. But I mean, hey. Oh wait. I mean, I did it. Very, very surprising. But I did it. I'm proud of it, I guess. So yeah, that's the whole FNAF lore. Yeah, I'm just gonna end stream. It was something, all right. It was something.